big player, but they could play a completely different kind of game of basketball tonight and try and just throw something at Anchorage they may not prepare for.
So Central Washington, their starting lineup will be the same one as was brought out against Alaska Fairbanks, starting with David Thompson, Xavier Smith, Amari Stafford, along with Colby Jeanette and Matt Poquette. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, with Alaska Anchorage, they'll be bringing out their starters as well, as their starting lineup is just about set to be introduced on the floor. So, as we are just a few minutes away from getting underway in the contest, final thoughts before these opening lineups are introduced here, Michael?
I think my bold prediction for the game, we're going to see somebody from Anchorage that we did not talk about probably have a big game. I think David Rowlands is going to come out and have a pretty solid night. He's usually a contributor, but he also averages 12 points a game, which is pretty solid. I think we may see a big performance out of him against Central rather than one of the three we've already talked about tonight.
So knowing this, we might see Rowlands play a factor in this contest as well. Maybe even the depth as well for Alaska Anchorage, as we are just a few minutes away from tip-off between Alaska Anchorage as well as Central Washington University. Here is Alaska Anchorage set to be introduced, and first it'll be David Rowlands. Rowlands, a player that averages 12 points a game on the season as well, and also Tobin Carlberg, the leading scorer for Alaska Anchorage on this season, averaging 17.5 points. Alongside will be Keegan Crosby, a common mainstay in the starting lineup, as well as Hunter Sweet, trying to overcome the 0-for-8 start, the 0-for-8 game that he had last Thursday against Northwest Nazarene, and as well Augie Panovich getting another start for Alaska Anchorage. So no surprises for the Seawolves starting lineup.
Nope, not really. And I mean, when it's not broke, you don't fix it.
And for Central Washington, they are going to be starting their same lineup that they have used in their win against Alaska Fairbanks. David Thompson will get the start alongside Xavier Smith, as well as Colby Jeanette. For Central Washington, led the team with 18 points in their victory over the Alaska Fairbanks Nanux. Amari Stafford, no surprise as well, getting the start as well for Central Washington. And along will be Matt Poquette. Poquette will be an incredible paint presence for Central Washington, especially in this contest, as we are just a few seconds away from the opening tip between Central and Alaska Anchorage. The opening tip against Alaska Fairbanks, however, Matt Poquette won the opening tip. However, one problem, he won it so well that the opening tip went over to the far sideline, out of bounds.
Hey, sometimes when you go up for an opening tip, your only idea in your head is, I'm going to hit the ball in this direction. You don't care about how hard it's going to be. And unfortunately for Matt again, that tip, he hit it really hard. I mean, who knows? Maybe this tip will go right into the basket.
We'll find out. Glad you're with us, wherever you're watching from, whether across from Alaska or all the way here into Ellensburg, all across the GNAC. Welcome in, as it's a battle for first place in the GNAC standings. Alaska Anchorage and Central underway here in Nicholson Pavilion. And it's Poquette who wins the opening tip in the same direction. This time, Mari Stafford there to retrieve for Central Washington as we're underway. Central moving from right to left across your radio dial. Mari Stafford now finding Matt Poquette on the far side. Dropped inside now for Jeanette. Jeanette kicked out for Poquette. Now top of the key for Stafford. Now for a stretch pass from Thompson. Finding Poquette. One-handed catch on the near side. Finding Colby Jeanette, a three-pointer. That one rejected by the rim. Poquette the rebound. Far side now for Xavier Smith, a three. That one again rejected by the rim. And it'll be Alaska Anchorage with their first offensive possession of the game.
A cold start right there for the Wildcats. You want to try and work your way and get inside shots early on.
Here's Carlberg with it. Tobin Carlberg to the outside now for Keegan Crosby. Crosby guarded now by Xavier Smith. Off the screen set by Panovich, near side for Rowlands. David Rowlands guarded by Thompson. Rowlands hands off now for a deep three. That one missed again from Hunter Sweet. 0 for 1 from 3 to start the game. 0 for 4 against Northwest Nazarene on Thursday. Here's Poquette, drives right through, intercepted on the play by Tobin Carlberg of Alaska Anchorage as they advance on ahead. Here is Carlberg. Drives right through, elevates a three-pointer. It's good! Tobin Carlberg gets Alaska Anchorage starting early. They're off and running.
You're going to hear that name a lot tonight.
Stafford, near side wing for Central. Top of the key for Thompson. Guarded by Carlberg. Thompson off the Poquette screen. Lets it fly from three. That one off the rim and out. Rebounded by Alaska Anchorage and Keegan Crosby. Far side now for Carlberg. Carlberg rides in, stops up. Crosby finds the open three-pointer. That one is made on the play by Hunter Sweet.
Unsurprising, only 3-pointers taken across the first 2 minutes of the game.
Here is Colby Jeanette for Central, finding Amari Stafford on the near wing. Top of the key now for Xavier Smith. Smith working off the screen set by Jeanette. Jeanette now has it on the near side, into the corner for Stafford. Stafford loves the three ball. Instead, it's Poquette down low on the post, finding Thompson. Thompson to the edge now for Jeanette, far side for Smith. Xavier Smith turns, stops up on the dime, finds Jeanette for a deep three. Colby Jeanette with a three-pointer, and Central now on the scoreboard. It's now 6-3.
Like I said at the beginning of the game, the Wildcats are going to probably want to ride the hot hand of Jeanette going into this one.
Here is Tobin Carlberg. Off the screen from Panovich. Stops up, finds the open deep three. That one's missed by David Rowlands. Rebounded by Central. Thompson on ahead for Stafford. Stafford stops up, finds Thompson. Thompson riding through on Carlberg. Pump fakes, hesitates, finds Matt Poquette. Poquette down low in the post. Takes his time back to the outside for a deep three from Stafford. That one's a miss. Rebound by Alaska Anchorage as they advance the other way.
Still have yet to see anything but three-pointers from both these teams.
Here is a steal on Crosby, initially kept alive though by Alaska Anchorage. Finding the open Carlberg, and scoring the three is Carlberg off the pass from Hunter Sweet.
Big shots from Carlberg already here in the first half.
Thompson lost control of the ball initially, regains control, finds Matt Poquette. Poquette driving right through. He gathers control on the far side. Poquette turns, spins, near side now for a deep three from Xavier Smith. It's good! Xavier Smith, the three-pointer. Central Washington within three.
Another big shot right there from the Wildcats. This is going to go back and forth probably for a while.
Hunter Sweet with it. Sweet drives in on Poquette, stops up, double team to the outside now for Keegan Crosby. Far side now for Carlberg. For the carry inside by Panovich. It's still loose, a scramble. Poquette there to fight the ball away. It'll be Xavier Smith advancing on ahead for Central. 9-6 lead for Alaska Anchorage. Here is Smith now for Stafford. Stafford guarded by Panovich. Far side for a deep three from Jeanette. That one's missed as it's Colby Jeanette. A little bit cold out of the gate for Central.
I mean, yeah, but he'll heat up. That's the thing that the Wildcats are counting on.
Carlberg heating up. He finds the floater and the deuce, and it's now 11-6 Alaska Anchorage lead.
The first non-three-pointer of the game after the first 12 shots for threes. What a start.
Here is David Thompson, far side for Stafford. Drop down low for Poquette. Riding in on Panovich. Can't finish the play.
Panovich is a very solid defensive player down low, and you saw it right there.
Crosby with it. Crosby for Panovich. Looking for Carlberg, instead finds Rowlands. David Rowlands working off the screen, set by Panovich. Stops up to the outside now for the corner play as it'll be Crosby. Keegan Crosby stops on Jeanette. To the outside for Carlberg again. Lobbed in for Panovich, guarded by Matt Poquette. As it's Panovich finding the open Crosby. Crosby drives in. Crosby drifts to the outside. A deep three with no time on the shot clock. Rejected by the rim. Jeanette the rebound for Central.
Now we'll see if they can push back the other way and get them on the inside.
Jeanette for Stafford now. Top the key for a deep three from Thompson. It's good! David Thompson, the three-pointer. It's a 2-point game.
First points of the night so far for Thompson. I don't think he's going to stop at three, though.
This could be an offensive shootout. Number 4 and number 1 ranked offenses here tonight in the GNAC. Here's Alaska Anchorage, ranked number 4 with Tobin Carlberg. He'll let it fly from 3, rejected by the rim. Rebound by Carlberg himself. As it's a new offensive possession for Alaska Anchorage far side. Here's Hunter Sweet. Sweet for the carryover from Panovich. Panovich, top of the key, near side for Crosby. Crosby hangs on, guarded by Poquette. Crosby far side now for Rowlands. Rowlands on Thompson. Loses control of the ball. Great steal from Thompson. Thompson shaking big, rides right through. Layup is good.
What a very great play right there from Thompson, being able to get the steal, push out the other side, put a little bit of flair on the layup. Ties up the game as well.
Here comes Rowlands, near side for Carlberg, with the game tied at 11. Far side, Crosby dials up a 3, missed it. Loose ball, Thompson on ahead for Central. Seeing a bit of the offensive thrust here for Central. Stretch pass finds Jeanette. Jeanette into the corner now for Smith. Smith on the near side. Sends a high pass, gathered in by Thompson, spinning on Carlberg as he underhand passes one, looking for the combination of Poquette and Jeanette, and that one flies out of bounds.
Thompson playing a little bit too wild right there. Was able to get some nice plays going. Unfortunately, that pass a little bit too unsafe, I feel like. It goes right out of bounds. It looked like the Anchorage ball coming the other way.
6 minutes into the contest, and we are right where we started, 11-11 tie. So knowing this and what we've seen thus far, Central Washington able to withstand the early Alaska Anchorage onslaught in the very beginning of this first half.
Exactly. And right now, I don't know why we were surprised. This is going to be a three-point shooting contest, it feels like, for both teams. I said it a couple times, the first 12 shots of the game being three-pointers from these clubs. Already 16 threes taken on the night. They're not going to slow down anytime soon, it feels like.
As it's both these two teams, Alaska Anchorage coming in fourth in terms of three-point shooting, as well as in points for. Meanwhile, Central just a shy bit behind as they are in fifth, as they average on the year 36 points from three-point territory.
They may not be shooting them at the best clip, but going into the game, they're two of the top teams in the GNAC in 3 points attempted. We see that right here. That's not going to change anywhere tonight.
That will probably in all likelihood not be a factor as the matchup so far. Both teams 3 for 8 from 3, and it's a very even game from the outset with first place on the line here in this game.
One thing to take note of, this Alaska Anchorage team struggles a bit at trying to force turnovers on defense, ranking dead last in the conference at both steals and blocks. Central, on the other hand, ranks in the top half of both. That could play a big factor when it comes to the defensive intensity of both of these teams.
So here is Alaska Anchorage with it as the game tied 11-11 with 6 minutes gone by here in this first half. Here's Tobin Carlberg, drives in on Isaiah Banks, elevates, and a stoppage in play, and that will be a foul called on Banks of Central, his first personal of the game and first foul of the contest for either team.
That'll send Carlberg to the line with a chance to already in the first 7 minutes of the game hit double-digit points. A great start.
What an offensive showcase, especially for Carlberg. Poquette checks out of the game, so on the floor for Central Washington will be, with the exception of David Thompson, all bench players, as it's Carlberg who makes the first free throw, 9 points on the night for him on the floor. Meanwhile, Alaska Anchorage into the game will be A.J. Garrity in the game for Alaska Anchorage, as he is the first bench player for the Seawolves here tonight. Carlberg looking to make it 10 points on the night, already in double figures. If he makes this one, he does.
Now let's see if the Wildcats can try and slow it back down after a little bit of a wild possession and see what they can get going.
So 4 bench players on the floor now for Central. One of them is David Lindgren. Lindgren through the double team finds Micah Pollard. Pollard dropped down low for Kyson Rose. Spin move, puts one up and in. Kyson Rose off the bench, ties up the game at 13.
A great post move right there by Rose. Expect to hear his name called a lot on offense and on defense.
Here's A.J. Garrity. Garrity guarded by David Lindgren. Hands off now for the carryover from Keegan Crosby. Now for Hunter Sweet. Sweet on the edge. Thought about the three. Far side now for Carlberg. Carlberg sachets right past Banks through the double team. Hesitates. Finds the outside man. That's A.J. Garrity. Garrity puts one up. That one comes up short. And that will lead to a foul called on the play. So that foul will be now bringing A.J. Garrity, I believe, to the line. Yes, Garrity will be heading to the line. The foul will be called on Kyson Rose of Central.
Nearly a perfect defensive outing right there for Central. Unfortunately, Rose gets a little bit too aggressive on the shot, and they're going to call foul on that one.
So here is Garrity at the line for Alaska Anchorage. The first free throw is missed.
Not a great free throw shooting team from Anchorage. In the top half, yes, but also only shooting 74%. Not ideal, especially compared to Central Washington shooting 78.
And Central Washington, the best free throw shooting team in the GNAC. However, Garrity, in the place of the best free throw shooting team, makes that free throw. It's now a 14-13 Alaska Anchorage lead. Here is Isaiah Banks, now for the far side play from Thompson. David Thompson sachets in, elevates, and the unfriendly roll. Lindgren looking for the rebound. He can't pick it up. It'll be A.J. Garrity up ahead for Alaska Anchorage as they advance. This is Crosby. Keegan Crosby over to play now for Garrity. Garrity, top of the key. Hands off now for Carlberg. And it'll be David Rollins with it now for Alaska Anchorage. Rollins, pump fakes, off the leg of Banks and out of bounds. Kicked ball, that will give Alaska Anchorage possession as they lead by 1.
Let's see if they can try and slow it back down. They were playing a lot of slow right there, but it still feels like they're playing a little bit wild. I think both of these teams, their tempo is high, and they bring it down for a second before they try and advance it.
Rollins with it, guarded by Thompson. Works out to the edge. Sachets, turns, spins on Thompson. Near side now for Carlberg. Carlberg guarded by Banks. Fakes the drive, turns, elevates. That one comes up short. A stab at again by Carlberg. That one comes up a little too strong. It'll be Micah Pollard up ahead for Central. Into the corner for Lindgren. Lindgren dives and elevates and scores. What a play from David Lindgren.
A great drive right there by Lindgren. Everybody thought he was going to pass it at the end. Decides to just go up with it and get an easy layup.
Sneaky hops Lindgren has, according to head coach Brandon Renta. To the inside now is Hunter Sweet for Alaska Anchorage. Guarded by Lindgren. In a heap of trouble through the double team. Over to the far side now. It's A.J. Garrity. Drives right through, slicing through and scores. A.J. Garrity with the basket. Alaska Anchorage now up by 1.
He's going to push the ball to the middle. Nobody's going to step up. He's going to take the shot himself and hit it.
16-15, Alaska Anchorage out in front. Here's Micah Pollard, far side now for Isaiah Banks. Banks off the screen from Rose, finds the open, Thompson a 3. David Thompson a 3-pointer. Central Washington with the lead back, it's 18-16.
David Thompson off to a hot start, 8 points now, leading the Wildcats.
Carlberg for Alaska Anchorage. Far side for Garrity, hands off for Rollins. David Rollins works to the outside, drifting in, now far side for A.J. Garrity. Garrity on the handoff now for Crosby. Crosby for Rollins. Lets it fly from 3 and makes it! What a play made from David Rollins!
What a shot right there. And just like that, the 3-pointers are coming back alive for both teams.
19-18. Alaska Anchorage in front. Lindgren looking to reply. Finds Kyson Rose. He can shoot threes, but this time he doesn't. But finding the rebound was Lindgren, who was immediately fouled. That looks to be going against Keegan Crosby of Alaska Anchorage. So knowing this, it will be heading to the line shooting free throws. David Lindgren. We have a stoppage of play in the action. 9:19 gone by here in the first half. And with that, Alaska Anchorage a 19-18 lead. And a battle for first place in the GNAC standings. And knowing what we've seen so far, very even throughout here, Michael.
Yeah, I think there really isn't anything one team is doing that the other one hasn't been able to respond with. But I still feel like there really isn't anybody with a bit of an advantage. This is a very even game. Both teams are showing exactly why they're at the top of the GNAC coming into it. Central's playing with a lot of tempo and a lot of aggressiveness, but Anchorage is just firing right back. Carlberg is off to a great start. He doesn't seem like he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. And we're going to see, most likely, a very close game from wire to wire.
And for Central Washington, if you were to pick one player to have a great performance, looking at what we've seen so far in the season, you would think it would be Xavier Smith. But this time the story just a little bit different.
David Thompson, which should be no surprise. Right now he's the second leading scorer on the team at 15 points a game. He's already halfway there, not even at halftime. Like, he's having a pretty strong start to the game, and it's allowing the rest of the team to flow around him. He's playing very good defense as well, as we saw with the steal and the fast break score earlier on. And I feel like if he keeps playing the way it is, it's not just him that's going to benefit. The rest of the team benefits off his energy, his intensity, and it's going to only get better from here.
And we'll see if it does improve during the course of this contest. As 19-19 has gone by here at this first half. David Lindgren at the line, shooting free throws for Central Washington. Lindgren with the first free throw attempt. That one is missed. So far, Lindgren on the season kept rather quiet, especially during the early portion of the season, as he saw sparing action throughout the course of the year. But Lindgren makes that free throw, seeing quite a bit of action within these last two GNAC games. Here comes Alaska Anchorage. This is Caleb Larson on the floor for AAK, as it'll be Panovich with it now back on the floor for Alaska Anchorage. Far side for a deep three. That one's good from A.J. Garrity.
And just like that, it doesn't matter who Anchorage is taking the shot, they're going to hit a three.
Stoppage in play, and that looks to be a foul that will be called against Central Washington, it seems.
Looks like it'll be a travel, they decided to call
Travel
it.
call.
Could have been a charge, yes, I agree, but I believe he traveled going into it, which either way, it's the Seawolves basketball now.
And it is a turnover, so the Seawolves will have possession, as on the floor will be Hunter Sweet alongside Caleb Larson to go alongside A.J. Garrity, Tobin Carlberg, as well as Augie Panovich. On the far side now, this is Caleb Larson. Larson hesitates, finds Garrity with it. Garrity retreats to the edge, pump fakes, lets it fly from three. That one finds the unfriendly side of the rim. Carlberg the rebound, however, for Alaska Anchorage, puts one up and in. What a pretty play from the leading scorer himself, Tobin Carlberg.
He's going to be able to score at all 3 levels of offense for this Anchorage team.
Pollard with it. Pollard, Micah Pollard a 3. That one finds the corner of the rim and out. Back the other way comes Alaska Anchorage. Into the corner, Garrity again, lobbed in for Augie Pandovich. Alaska Anchorage a 24-19 lead. Carlberg looking to extend that even more. That one comes up too strong on the rim. Here comes Smith. Drop down low for Isaiah Banks. Scores!
A great shot right there from Isaiah Banks. He was held with only 2 points in the last game. I think he might end up exceeding that amount here.
Well, he matched that total already. Carlberg, top of the key now for the carryover. Lob to the inside from Larson to Panovich. Guarded by Matt Poquette. The matchup to watch here tonight. Poquette guarding on the play. Here's a deep 3. That one's a miss on the play. A loose ball guided in by Amari Stafford off the attempted shot that came from Carlberg.
Central maybe looking at a 3-pointer right here.
Poquette, not a 3-point shooter, finds Pollard. Pollard works to the inside of the paint. Intercepted in a stretch pass. Here comes Carlberg driving up the wing. He scores! The steal in the basket for Carlberg sees Alaska Anchorage with a 5-point lead.
Carlberg just does it all for this T-Wolves team.
Here comes Central Washington the other way. Down by 5. Xavier Smith with it. Guarded on the play from A.J. Garrity. Smith sachets near side for Banks. Banks drives right through, slicing through the D. Finding the open Pollard into the corner for Smith. Smith guarded by Garrity. Hesitates, drop down low for Pollard. Pollard to the outside for Smith. Smith, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Lets it fly. That one off the rim and out. Alaska Anchorage now with possession.
Now let's see if Carlberg's going to put a little bit more offense out here for Anchorage.
Into the corner, Hunter Sweet driving in. Sweet kicked out now for Larson. Larson turns, no look pass. He finds Sweet. Hunter Sweet with a sweet, well, attempting to try and put up a sweet shot. That one comes up empty. And with that, out of bounds off of Carlberg for Alaska Anchorage. So it'll be Central Washington with possession as they are down by 5. As we are 12 minutes and 3 seconds into this first half. Danny Bach alongside Michael Jones. And so far in this game, Alaska Anchorage starting to open out to more of an advantage here, as this is one of the best teams in the GNAC, and they're proving that right here within this last stretch.
Oh, it all comes from Carlberg. I think that's the big takeaway is, as we said earlier, this is a team effort. But right now, Carlberg is the team. Like, everything on offense and on defense feels like it's going to go through Carlberg first and foremost, and then everybody else is just going to reap the benefits after that.
You talk about putting a team on your back. Carlberg has done that. He has taken the most shots and made the most shots, as well as the most threes and making the most threes. Carlberg can do it all. However, there's one player that I do want to see perform a little bit more, and that would be Augie Pandovich, especially.
Augie Pandovich has been doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, it feels like, so far tonight. He's pulling a lot of the defense on the inside, which allows Carlberg and the rest of the guards to move free around the perimeter. Trust me, once they start keying into Carlberg, Pandovich is going to be a lot more open, and he's going to put up a lot more points.
Alaska Anchorage Seawolves fans would love to see that, and it'll be a great scene to see, especially for Seawolves fans, if Pandovich can work his way into the scoring spree for Alaska Anchorage. Meanwhile, for Central Washington so far, and what we've seen, Thompson still the leading scorer with 8 points. However, Thompson will be on the bench for now, as it'll be Central with a lineup of Xavier Smith, Isaiah Banks, Colby Jeanette, Matt Poquette, and Amari Stafford. So this time, 4 starters into the game for Central. Poquette climbs the ladder and misses the dunk.
Almost had it right there. You know he wanted it, and you know he's going to probably try again now.
Here comes Carlberg again, riding in on Isaiah Banks, pump fakes, turns, spins, pivots. The outside for Garrity, A.J. Garrity, working to the edge, guarded by Stafford. Far side now for Caleb Larson, lobbed in for Augie Pandovich with a great pass, finding Carlberg, he puts it up, he scores, and the foul!
Another great play right there from Carlberg, not able to get his first shot that he wanted, but passed the ball out, moves around, able to get on the inside in a much better position, and draws the foul to hit the bucket.
So it'll be Banks who will check out of the game. It'll be David Thompson who checks in for Central. As here is Carlberg from the line, already 16 points on the night. And still with 16 points on the night.
Carlberg, usually 81% free throw shooter, rarely misses, but did miss that one.
Xavier Smith driving in, lost control of something, the ball. Last touch, however, and seemingly off of Alaska Anchorage, so it'll be Central who will inbound.
They need to try and find somebody out on the perimeter to hit a shot right here. They're down 7. You know they want to hit the 3. They're going to have to do it right here.
28-21 the score. Alaska Anchorage out in front. Here's Matt Poquette, guarded by Panovich. Outside now for Jeanette. Finding Thompson, no look pass intercepted. Here comes Tobin Karlberg, maybe an odd man rush. He will instead slow down the pace. Karlberg off the Panovich screen, drives into the inside, kicked out for a deep 3 from Hunter. Sweet, that one not too sweet as it hits the back of the frame. So it'll be Central Washington with it back the other way. Here's Thompson. Thompson guarded by Karlberg, and his dribble leads to a turnover, and it'll be sported loose. Panovich emerging free with the ball for Alaska Anchorage after that sequence.
And let's see if the Seawolves can capitalize on another steal.
Here's Panovich. He can shoot threes. He instead kicks into the corner for another 3. That one off the rim from A.J. Garrity. Amari Stafford with it the other way for Central. Finding Colby Jeanette, fakes the 3. Spinning on Garrity, driving into the corner. Smith thought about the 3, cuts to the inside, turns, elevates, and misses that chance. It's going to be Alaska Anchorage now with a 7-point lead and possession here with 6 minutes and 10 seconds left to go here in the first half. Here into the corner, Caleb Larson at 3. That one's good! Caleb Larson from downtown, and the Wilson, Oregon native gives Alaska Anchorage a double-digit lead.
Now
And we have a foul that will be called on the play. Fresh after making the 3, Larson called for the foul. Alaska Anchorage up 31-21.
Central has to try and get something going on offense. They're playing, it feels like they're playing a terrible combination of high and low tempo. They're playing a little bit too aggressive with their passing, but they're not really trying to find the opportunity. They're not trying to attack the basket, which it makes the Seawolves defense look a lot better because they don't have to really move around. They don't have to do a lot more. They just have to sit where they are and let the Wildcats make a mistake, which they've done multiple times.
And knowing this, it might come down to Central Washington's offense and their ability to score points more so as an impact in this game, because we know Alaska Anchorage, they can score, they're scoring at will, but also what might be key down the stretch will also be if Central Washington can score against Alaska Anchorage, the 4th-ranked defense in the GNAC, so that will be especially critical. We do have a score update within the GNAC standings, and it is Western Oregon victors today on the road against Simon Fraser, 76-63. So knowing this definitely shakes up the playoff standings just a little bit in the GNAC. So with that win, a huge win on the road for as Simon Fraser with that loss, that definitely shakes up the standings quite a bit. So we'll see what that takes place with the Western Oregon victory. Meanwhile, back in action, Central Washington down by 10. Thompson looking to change that. No look pass. He finds Jeanette. Underhand pass finding Poquette. And he scores. And on that play, however, a stoppage in play.
And it looks like they'll count the basket, getting a big and one right there. Almost drew the charge, but feet weren't set. It's going to be a block foul, and it'll send to the line to try and complete the 3-point play.
So Matt Poquette at the line, shooting free throws for Central Washington. It's now an 8-point game. As Matt Poquette at the line, known definitely for his vertical leap. As we have a stoppage in the floor, and now it will be Poquette now shooting free throws at the line. Poquette on the season, 78% free throw shooter. This one is up and through. That's now a 7-point game.
A big possession right there. Didn't get the 3-pointer, but still got the 3 points. Works just the same.
Here comes Caleb Larson for Alaska Anchorage, in for Augie Panovich. Panovich stops up on a dime, near side for the carryover for Crosby. Stoppage in play. That will be a foul that will be called on the play against Central Washington, and that foul will be going against Matt Poquette. Poquette's first personal of the game.
Playing a little bit too aggressive on the inside, and you can kind of see Panovich having that kind of impact. He didn't even need to score, but he's going to bring the defense off.
Here is David Rowlands with it now for Alaska Anchorage to the inside for Augie Panovich. Panovich turns, spins on Poquette, and scores! What a play from Augie Panovich, and he is starting to heat up.
Panovich is making his presence felt right now for the Seawolves team.
Jeanette near side for Smith. Xavier Smith, right-handed dribble, top of the key now for Stafford. Amari Stafford driving in, looking for Jeanette. It goes right through his hands, and here comes Alaska Anchorage. This is Caleb Larson. Larson across the wing, dropped off for Garrity, far side now for Panovich. Stops up, hands off now for Rowlands. Rollins, bounce pass, finding Crosby. Crosby, guarded by Jeanette. Crosby, top of the key, far side now for Rollins, inside now for Panovich. Panovich driving in on Matt Poquette, fakes, takes, and comes up short. Gets his own rebound, misses that one too. And it'll be Central Washington back the other way.
A lucky right there for the Wildcats. Could have easily given up 2 points, but managed to get the ball going the other way.
Smith, Xavier Smith for Central. Near side, Stafford, a deep three. He scores. And with that and the foul, I believe. Wow, what a sequence.
That may not be on a foul because it looked like the foul they're going to call was off ball. So they may take a double foul apparently. Very aggressive play, and that would mean the shot does not count.
So knowing this, the officials are converging on the play.
Yeah, it would appear that Panovich and our own Central Washington player in Poquette had a bit of an aggressive play right there where Poquette ended up on the ground. Then, as did Panovich, as they kind of went against each other, that probably will result in a double foul, which would mean that the shot that happened shortly after, although it went in, will not count because it was on the ground foul.
So to fill everyone in and looking at what the score is, Alaska Anchorage, a 33-24 lead with 4:27 left to go in this first half. This game is carrying incredible importance in terms of the standings, and boy, in terms of the standings, the winner of this game here, Michael, will be in first place in the GNAC standings. So very, very crucial down the stretch as the officials have left their huddle. And what do we have here, Michael?
It looks like they're going to call a foul on Panovich. That was off ball, which means it will be Wildcats ball, but the shot that did take place will not count.
So 33-24, Alaska Anchorage out in front. It'll be David Thompson inbound on the baseline for Central, as it'll be Thompson with the inbounds play. Takes a look, finds Matt Poquette. His jumper, that one's good. Matt Poquette with the answer. It's now a 7-point Alaska Anchorage lead.
Poquette said that you took away the points we already got. I'll just do it myself.
Here on the far side, driving in is Larson. No looker, finding the open diving Panovich. Second stab, he scores. What a play from Augie Panovich.
Felt like trying to tip the rebound away, accidentally tipped it in the basket.
35-26, Alaska Anchorage in front. Stretch pass, one-handed catch by Colby Jeanette. Jeanette near side now for Thompson. Thompson shaking big, driving through on Larson, finding the open Poquette. Stops up to the outside now for Xavier Smith. The X-Factor, drive again, his jumper. That one's a miss, and it's Jeanette who grabs the rebound. He takes a look, blocked on the play by Panovich. Stafford comes right through. Stafford puts one up and scores. What a play from Amari Stafford.
Great intensity right there by the Wildcats to be able to go into the inside and try and get the rebound 3 times.
What a sequence. Here comes Alaska Anchorage. This is Caleb Larson. Larson, far side now for Crosby. Lob to the inside for Panovich. Augie Panovich stops up and holds. Open is Crosby. And going off the backside of the rim on that attempted shot was Crosby. There'll be a foul called on the play as well. That looks to be going against Augie Panovich for Alaska Anchorage.
Panovich is playing very aggressive basketball right now, which usually works out, but unfortunately it's caused him 2 fouls already.
So with that, that might be especially key, especially in the second half of the contest. So taking a look at what's at stake in this game here for both these two teams in terms of the playoffs. One thing is for certain that we know, at least for a little bit of time, the winner of this game will be in first place in the GNAC standings after this game here tonight.
That may be the case right now. Unfortunately, it does switch around a lot of the playoffs right now, as if Central wins this game, they will now be only the 3 seed, as other games have been taking place.
What?
Now this game isn't even for the 1 seed, because that's how the standings are working, unfortunately, for this playoff system. 2 other games, completely unrelated to this one, have affected the playoffs so much that instead of a game for first place, now, regardless of the victory, there's a good chance that neither of these teams ends up in first place in the conference after this game.
Man, I am even more confused here. So this game is not for first place because of the results that happened. So for Alaska Anchorage, if they were to win, are they in first place?
Anchorage has just dropped to the 2 seed because of a completely unrelated game between Simon Fraser and Western Oregon. But if they win, they will regain the 1 seed. The best Central Washington can do is they are currently the 5 seed. They move up to 3 with a win. The point to take away from this is, with 2 weeks left in the season, this will get in no way less confusing, unfortunately.
And I am left confused here still. Here's Central Washington on offense, looking to clear up their confusion. Matt Poquette with the layup. That's good, and now it's a 5-point Seawolves lead.
Poquette is heating up right now for the Wildcats.
Into the corner now. This is Tobin Carlberg, guarded by Xavier Smith. Carlberg thrust it to the far side. Now for the carry on for the emerging free. David Rollins across the timeline, as it will be Rollins dropped down low for the carryover from David Riley. Now Carlberg with it. Carlberg hesitates, lobbed in far side for a deep three. That one rejected by the rim. That was Hunter Sweet on the attempted shot for Alaska Anchorage. Xavier Smith climbs the ladder and scores.
A huge transition basket right there by Smith, being able to take it coast to coast.
Far side, driving in, turning is Crosby. Turns, spins, kicked out Sweet. Open three from Carlberg. That one partially blocked perhaps. Here comes Central Washington the other way. Here is Thompson. Thompson, bounce pass for Poquette. Poquette guarded by Crosby to the edge. Thompson shakes and bakes on Riley. Stafford a deep three. That one off the rim. And it'll be Alaska Anchorage on the rebound. They lead only by 3. And we have a stoppage in play, and it'll be a timeout that'll be called for by Rusty Osborne of Alaska Anchorage. 2:04 left to go here in the opening half, with Alaska Anchorage up 35-32. So knowing this, it's very difficult to try and piece apart the playoff picture as well. In terms of games that are going on right now, it's Alaska Fairbanks taking on Northwest Nazarene, a game that got underway just a while ago. Taking a look at what that means, especially for the playoff picture for both these two teams. It is Northwest Nazarene that has as that game has ended. We're still trying to find what the final score was in that contest. We should be updated in just a little bit. And looking at what we've seen here for both these two teams, it is a final. Northwest Nazarene wins against Alaska Fairbanks 73-66. So with that win, that definitely changes up the standings quite a bit, and we'll see how that shakes apart the GNAC standings. Meanwhile, a deep three. That one is good from A.J. Garrity. And with that, Alaska Anchorage opens out now to a 6-point lead. Here's Colby Jeanette offensively for Central Washington, finding Xavier Smith at the top of the key. Smith near side for Thompson. Thompson working through as he's guarded by Carlberg. Thompson stops up, hesitates. Far side now for Stafford. Stafford drifting in behind the back dribble, finds Matt Poquette. Poquette guarded by Rollins. Turning, spinning, outlets on ahead. That's Xavier Smith. Smith riding in, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Lost control of the shot. Here comes a 2-on-1. Carlberg for Rollins. Rollins, his jumper. That one is a little too strong, rolling off the rim. However, a foul is called. Matt Poquette not too pleased over that call, as he is called for the foul, his second personal of the contest. So that will send Alaska Anchorage over now to the far baseline, where they will inbound. As there will be substitutions into the game for Central Washington, as it will be Kyson Rose who will check in for Matt Poquette. So with that new addition for Kyson Rose in the line, we'll see how that shakes up Alaska Anchorage's offense. Here on the far side is Crosby. Keegan Crosby. Open is Sweet. A three off the back of the rim. Rebounded by Maury Stafford of Central.
Wildcats need to push in transition right now. They need to be able to get a fast bucket if they can.
Here's Thompson. Thompson stops up on Carlberg. Outside now for Stafford. Finding Xavier Smith. Smith drifting right in. Lost control of his balance, and that will be a foul that will be called on the play on David Rollins.
A bit of a questionable foul. It felt like there wasn't a lot of contact there, but the ref at that angle may have seen it differently, and it will bring the Alaska Anchorage team to 6 fouls on the quarter, on the half. May see bonus in a second if they get another one.
See what takes place here. 38-32, Alaska Anchorage in front. Here's Thompson with it. David Thompson off the Rose screen, puts one up and scores. David Thompson makes it a 38-34 Seawolves lead.
A good shot right there by Thompson, being able to get into open space and hit the shot that he wants to hit.
Keegan Crosby for Alaska Anchorage. Top of the key now for Tobin Carlberg. Carlberg working in on Smith. Jumper blocked on the play from Colby Jeanette.
Oh, insane block right there, being able to almost pin it against the backboard.
Smith for Stafford, 34 seconds to go in the half. Far side, Jeanette, a three-pointer. That one off the rim. A loose ball, last touch off of Keegan Crosby. Possession arrow in favor of Central. They trail by 4 with 29 seconds to go in the half.
We may see a very quick shot right here from the Wildcats if they want to try and get 2 before the half is over.
Here's Thompson, inbounds for Stafford. Stafford hands off for Thompson. Thompson, top of the key, taking his time now for Central. Guarded by Carlberg. 2 leading scorers in the game tonight. One-on-one. Here's Thompson. Thompson off the screen, lost control of the ball. Carlberg on ahead. A 3-on-1 bounce pass is intercepted by Thompson. 5 seconds ago. A scramble for it. Out there, listen to this. Turnover. Here comes Garrity. He'll shoot a 3. It's good. A.J. Garrity with no time to go to end the first half. What an amazing sequence. And Alaska Anchorage opens out to a 41-34 lead. My goodness.
What a order of events right there. They go from David Thompson just trying to wait the clock out, try and get an easy shot left with about 10 seconds on the clock, turns them all over, followed up by a steal, followed up by another turnover, followed up by just an open 3 to end it, and he drains to send it into halftime to Seawolves with a 7-point lead.
Unbelievable. Alaska Anchorage opens out to a 7-point lead. We'll be right back with the WSR and a halftime show after this quick word in just a little bit on the WSRN.
Please join 88 Windenburg in thanking our proud sponsor, Central Park Apartments. Located at the end of East Helena Avenue, Central Park Apartments offer 1 to 4 bedroom apartment homes with amenities including a swimming pool, fitness center, and multi-purpose court. All rooms are open concept with storage space, heating, and air conditioning, as well as in-unit washer and dryers. Tours can be scheduled through their website, and more information about pricing and availability can be found by calling 509-925-1247.
Attorneys can help with many things: traffic citations, criminal accusations, and arrests. 88 The Berg would like to thank its proud sponsor, attorney Mark Shimoleski. Mark's office is located on Pine Street in downtown Ellensburg, walking distance from the CW campus and the courthouse. With over 30 years' experience as a state deputy prosecuting attorney, municipal court judge, city prosecuting attorney, judge pro tem, and defense attorney, Mark can be reached at mac1law.com or by calling 933-1LAW.
88 Windenburg would like to thank our proud sponsor, The Barber Chop.
The Barber Chop is located walking distance from the university at 1011 North Alder Street in Ellensburg.
They have experienced barbers and offer beard trimmings and men's haircuts.
Appointments can be booked on Tuesdays with walk-ins through an online sign-in list available Wednesday through Saturday.
The Barber Chop can be reached by calling 509-929-2922.
If you would like to find out more or book an appointment, you can search The Barber Chop on Facebook.
The Bird would like to thank our proud sponsor, Central Transit. Operating 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Central Transit is Ellensburg's public transit service. Stops include Fred Meyer, Safeway, The Verge, and Brooklyn Village. All buses have bike racks and are ADA accessible. For bus routes, stops, and pickup times, the Transit app is available for download. More information can be found on their website at centraltransit.org.
88 The Bird would like to thank our proud sponsor, Yakima Federal Savings and Loan. With 10 locations in central Washington, including Ellensburg, Yakima, and the Tri-Cities, Yakima Federal offers a variety of services, including free Clear Choice student checking accounts, savings accounts, home loans, and more. More information can be found on their website at yakimafed.com or by calling 509-925-5338. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Please join 88 Windenburg in thanking our proud sponsor, Central Park Apartments. Located at the end of East Helena Avenue, Central Park Apartments offer 1 to 4 bedroom apartment homes with amenities including a swimming pool, fitness center, and multi-purpose court. All rooms are open concept with storage space, heating, and air conditioning, as well as in-unit washer and dryers. Tours can be scheduled through their website, and more information about pricing and availability can be found by calling 509-925-1247.
Attorneys can help with many things: traffic citations, criminal accusations, and arrests. 88 The Berg would like to thank its proud sponsor, attorney Mark Shimoleski. Mark's office is located on Pine Street in downtown Ellensburg, walking distance from the CW campus and the courthouse. With over 30 years' experience as a state deputy prosecuting attorney, municipal court judge, city prosecuting attorney, judge pro tem, and defense attorney, Mark can be reached at mac1law.com or by calling 933-1LAW.
881 The Berg would like to thank our proud sponsor, The Barber Chop.
The Barber Chop is located walking distance from the university at 1011 North Alder Street in Ellensburg.
They have experienced barbers and offer beard trimmings and men's haircuts.
Appointments can be booked on Tuesdays with walk-ins through an online sign-in list available Wednesday through Saturday.
The Barber Chop can be reached by calling 509-929-2922.
If you would like to find out more or book an appointment, you can search The Barber Chop on Facebook.
.881 The Berg would like to thank our proud sponsor, Central Transit. Operating 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Central Transit is Ellensburg's public transit service. Stops include Fred Meyer, Safeway, The Verge, and Brooklyn Village. All buses have bike racks and are ADA accessible. For bus routes, stops, and pickup times, the Transit app is available for download. More information can be found on their website at centraltransit.org.
You're listening to the Wildcat Sports Radio Network on KCWU Ellensburg.
Welcome to the Wildcat Sports Radio Network Halftime Show, brought to you by CWU Athletics and the Wildcat Sports Radio Network.
Back here on the WSRN, Danny DeVock alongside Michael Jones, and what we've seen, well, it's been another offensive game for both these two teams, Alaska Anchorage and Central Washington, that sees the Seawolves out in front 41-34, and what we've seen, it has been a dominant performance by one of the key stars for Alaska Anchorage, and it's the leading scorer, proving why he is the leading scorer for this Seawolves team.
Tobin Karlberg has 16 points in the first half. An outstanding performance so far, and he's done it on just whatever he wants to do. Whether it's hitting threes, whether it's driving to the basket, whether it's doing it at the free throw line. It feels like he's scoring at every single level of the game right now for Alaska Anchorage and opening up the floor for everybody else to score well.
Not to mention also for Alaska Anchorage, it has been the three ball that has been performing especially well in the contest, as it was also AJ Garrity as well, as he struck Pater as well from three, as he has 12 points already on the night for the Seawolves.
Yeah, 12 points, 3 3-pointers, including one almost at the buzzer there to end the first half out to give them the 7-point lead. Alaska Anchorage has shot 8 for 21, 38%, which is roughly what they shoot on the season as a whole. They're doing it, though, on pretty efficient, it feels like. It feels like whatever shots they're taking are good looks. They're not really missing bad shots like you would expect to see from a team that may take too many threes.
So taking a look at what we've seen, if there is one key point that Alaska Anchorage is really capitalizing, especially in this contest here, it's one surprising category, especially on the defensive side, as Alaska Anchorage is playing outside their identity in one regard.
Yeah, the Alaska Anchorage ranks at the last place in the GNAC in steals, and right now they have 7 steals, forcing 9 turnovers from Central Washington. And you could argue that right now, Central Washington is doing a lot of this unforced. Unforced errors will stop you from winning a game. They will end your chance of winning a game, and that's right now what Central Washington is doing too much of. Alaska Anchorage has 12 points off of turnovers alone, and with only a 7-point lead, that makes a huge impact, and the Wildcats need to stop it, and the Seawolves need to keep it going into the second half.
So we'll see what takes place, especially throughout the rest of the course of this contest. Taking a look at those turnovers, as you mentioned there, Michael Jones, Alaska Anchorage really capitalizing on points off turnovers. 12-2, they lead in that category, and one of the sequences that really was a difference maker, especially going in the locker room, was definitely that sequence at the end of the first half.
Exactly, where Alaska Anchorage was able to get a steal, turn the ball over right away, and then get the steal once again to close out the half with a huge three-pointer from Garrity, who is performing very well off the bench for this team.
One of the surprises for the Seawolves roster. Meanwhile, taking a look at Central Washington and what we've seen thus far, Thompson heated up early, and then the rest of Central Washington's roster started to get into the scoring spree as well.
Really, it comes down to 2 key players right now on offense for them, David Thompson and Mac Paquette. Paquette has been doing, it felt like he was everywhere. For a big post like him, he was able to get up, do a lot on offense and on defense, being able to be a very physical force on both ends of the court, and it's something the Wildcats very much need going here into the second half, where you have to leave it all on the court. And he has already played like he is doing that.
And he has been performing at a great pace as well, but he will have to step it up because he is matched up against Augie Panovich of Alaska Anchorage. So knowing this, the battle, Panovich standing at 6 feet 7 inches tall. Meanwhile, Paquette also, he's listed in the lineup as 6'6". As well, but knowing this, that is definitely going to be the matchup that could decide the game in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to which of these teams can stop the other team's big man. Because with Panovich, he's already kind of been contained in the first half. He got in a little bit of foul trouble. He was playing a little bit too aggressive and only has 4 points to show for it. Paquette has 7 points. He feels like he's playing a bit more calm and collected, but that can all change in just one half. So, it's going to come down to which team can stop the other team's offense, really.
And in terms of defense, the advantage goes to Alaska Anchorage. They are ranked 4th defensively. Meanwhile, Central Washington is ranked 8th. So knowing this, it'll be up to Central to see if they can stop Tobin Karlberg, especially, as well as A.J. Garrity. So it seems to be the three-point shooting of Alaska Anchorage that really is punishing Central so far in this game. But taking a look at what else is going on with the weight of this game, the playoff picture, it is, well, simply complicated, and I cannot seem to wrap my mind around it here, Michael. And, well, maybe you could help me out and try and see if we can figure out what this playoff picture looks like.
Well, to put it blatantly, it's complicated. I think that's the one word to say. With, usually when you have just a simple win-loss record, it's very cut clear.
Yeah.
You win a game, you're going to help. You lose a game, you're going to lose. Unfortunately, now you have to rely on every other team you've played against so far this season to keep winning. And unfortunately, you've played every team so far this season, so it's too complicated. Right now, if you look at the standings, regardless of how the day started out, because let's face it, once a game finishes, everything's going to change this year. Right now, Central Washington is in 5th place in the conference. Alaska Anchorage is now in 2nd place in the conference after an earlier game took place, which means that if Central wins tonight, they will move up to 3, and Anchorage will drop down to 4. If Anchorage wins, they will move up to 1, and Central will stay at the 5 spot. So really, this is going to come down to one of these two teams going to win and move into the top 3. One of these two teams going to drop out of the top 3. Do we know that's going to stay the rest of the night? Probably not. Knowing how the games are going, something's going to change again tonight. But right now, it's going to come down to if your team wins, you're going to improve your stance.
And that much can be certain. We know the best thing that you can do, especially in a complicated playoff picture, is win. It's that simple. But what really made me confused was especially how both these two teams near the top in the GNAC standings. However, it was the result of two of the teams that you could even go to the stretch of saying some of the worst teams in the GNAC. It was Western Oregon battling Simon Fraser, ranked 8th and 10th for the GNAC, and that result forces Central Washington where they cannot be in the 1 seed at the end of the night because of that result.
Exactly, and it comes down to, we already said it, win percentage, as if your team is at the 25% mark, the 50% mark, or the 75% mark, it greatly changes how much a win against that team is worth. And unfortunately, with that game, both teams, both Western Oregon and Simon Fraser, moved out of their quadrant, we can call it, I guess, and it affected every team that they have played against. Well, at this point in the season, they have played every team in the conference. So everybody moved around a little bit depending on whether or not they beat those teams. Unfortunately for Central, it hurt them a little bit because of only playing Western Oregon once. And, they still going to play against
Simon Fraser, yes.
Sweeping against Simon Fraser very much helped them, but unfortunately only playing Western Oregon once, and the fact that Simon Fraser lost the game, dropping them down a little bit, it hurts their scoring a little bit.
So taking a look at other scores that took place throughout the GNAC, we have over in the women's bracket, St. Martin's goes on an 8-0 run. near the end of regulation as they went on to beat Seattle Pacific 58-51. So a huge victory for St. Martin's. In other games as well within the GNAC, it was Western Washington's women's game that emerged victorious as they beat Central by the final score of 74-72. Emma Duff had a career high 29 points, leading the way for Western Washington. And it was a great performance as well from the younger Dykstra sister, Riley Dykstra, 8 points and 7 rebounds. For Western Washington with a big win, especially helping them in the standings on the women's side of the bracket.
Oh, of course, with that win, now Western Washington moves up into the 1 seed in the women's bracket. And once you're in the 1 seed, all you have to worry about is winning. And I think that's what they're going to be focusing on right now is winning the next game ahead of them. They don't have to play Central Washington again, one of the top teams. Alaska Anchorage, I don't believe is on their schedule.
It is. They are.
Only one more game against Alaska Anchorage.
Correct.
Which, if they win that, that'll help them out a lot too. Right now, Western Washington is in control of their own destiny of getting the top seed going into the GNAC playoffs later this year.
And Alaska Anchorage's women's team as well will be in that fray. And here we go, the start of the second half as the Alaska Anchorage men's team has possession and has the lead. They're up by 7, 41-34. As heading up the floor is Rollins now for Alaska Anchorage, finding Augie Panovich. Panovich stops up, slowing down the pace, finds Rollins. Rollins guarded by Thompson of Central. Far side, Panovich now with it. Panovich on the double team, driving right through on Poquette. Stoppage of play, and it'll be a charge called, as was Poquette who took the contact.
And just like that, Panovich early on here in the second half now has 3 fouls, and they may be sitting him down for a little bit with that foul trouble.
And with that, Panovich does take a seat there.
Now if you're the Wildcats, you see that. You see Panovich is out now, you go to Poquette. You have a bit more of a mismatch down low. Try and feed it to your big man.
Here's Central Washington with it. Off the handoff, here comes Smith into the corner for Stafford. Stafford hesitates on the edge, finds Poquette on the elbow, coming up short, finding the front of the rim there for Central. Here comes Alaska Anchorage the other way. Here's Tobin Carlberg. A.J. Garrity now back into the game, now for the Seawolves. Crosby on the handoff now for Rollins. Spins on free. Rollins hesitates. Fakes the 3. Far side now for the carryover from Sweet. And a stoppage in play, and it'll be a foul called on that sequence. Foul coming up against David Thompson of Central Washington University. And for Thompson, his first foul of the contest.
Bit too aggressive of a foul, especially as you're off ball. You don't need to play that physical against your defender.
Here is Sweet, cycled up to the near side for Tobin Carlberg. Carlberg, far side for Crosby. Hands off for Rollins. Rollins back to Crosby. Crosby driving right through, slicing in, elevates, coming up short. Stafford able to snatch it up ahead for Central Washington as he will advance for Central. Stafford near side for Colby Jeanette, finding Matt Poquette down low. Far side now for Xavier Smith. Smith driving in, his floater. That one's off the rim, and it'll be Crosby on the rebound for Alaska Anchorage.
The Wildcats came out a little bit too perimeter-based right now.
Carlberg, a rainbow chance. That one finds the rim, but not the twine. Here's Smith right through and scores in the foul. What a play from Xavier Smith.
What a great shot. Basically a fadeaway layup right there. Draws the foul, gets it, and now it's a chance to complete a 3-point play.
So here is Smith at the line. Rather quiet. 5 points in the first half. Looking to make it now 3 with this free throw attempt. Smith, a very efficient free throw shooter, 86% on the year. Second best on the Central Washington team. And with that basket, it's now a 4-point game. Here comes Alaska Anchorage as they will advance. This is Sweet with it for the Seawolves. Hands off now for Keegan Crosby. Crosby far side now for Carlberg. Tobin Carlberg near side for the carry on by Garrity. Up top now for Hunter Sweet. Hands off to Crosby. Keegan Crosby. Far side now Carlberg. Carlberg lets it fly. That one off the back of the rim. Stafford the rebound for Central.
Central's been rebounding very well to start off the second half.
Colby Jeanette climbs the ladder, gains control, finds Smith open. Xavier Smith sashays right through and scores in the foul. Back-to-back trips to the line for the N1 foul for Xavier Smith. My goodness.
What an incredible Euro step right there. To hit him on the right, go back to the left, draw the foul, and finish at the rim. Now, after this timeout, they'll have a chance to finish the three-point play.
And with that, the score now, as we're just over 2 minutes gone by here in the second half, as Alaska Anchorage is up by 2, 41-39. Xavier Smith will head the line to Central, looking to make it now a 1-point game. As we, on the floor right now, we have a half-court competition. Here is the half-court shot, and that one comes short.
Unfortunately, he will not be going home with $1,000 tonight.
That was the offer for a lucky fan here at the Pavilion, so no prize there. But in terms of a prize, the prize of a victory in the GNAC standings is at stake for both these two teams. Central Washington starting out very strong out of the stretch.
Exactly, and right now they came out with a different kind of play. To get Panovich onto the bench right now is a huge help. This is one less thing they have to worry about on defense. They're able to rebound a lot stronger. As we saw, they're really not giving up a lot of offensive boards, and they're able to push in transition, get to the inside, and with a bit of a shorter defender, Xavier Smith is able to attack the basket and draw and one after and one, it appears.
And that is what Smith has done on back-to-back possessions. We'll see if that takes place, especially here during the rest of the totality of this game, as it will be Smith at the line, shooting free throws for Central Washington. Leading scorer coming in tonight for the Wildcats, as it is Smith who completes the three-point play. 6 points on back-to-back possessions sees Alaska Anchorage only up by 1 now. Here is Hunter Sweet up the floor for Alaska Anchorage, finding Tobin Karlberg, cycled on the head for Garrity. A.J. Garrity, hands off for Crosby. Top of the key now for Alaska Anchorage, and near side for the carryover from Rollins, inside for Garrity. Garrity back to Rollins. They play catch. Rollins driving right through. Layup is good. What a play from Rollins.
A great shot right there to be able to get it over the defender coming at you and to get it in.
Here is Xavier Smith working between the legs, turns and spins. Will he leave this possession with 3? Here's Jeanette looking for 3 himself. He does! Colby Jeanette at Central Washington now brings it to a tie game, 43-43.
Jeanette went a little cold in the first half. That's a big 3 for him right there.
Garrity with it, top of the key. Hands off for Karlberg. Tobin Karlberg on the far side for the carryover from Hunter Sweet. Garrity now top of the key. Fakes the handoff to Rollins, drives to the inside. Garrity, his jumper, rejected by the rim. And it'll be the rebound from Colby Jeanette, and a foul will be called after that sequence.
Another post foul right now for Alaska Anchorage. They've been, unfortunately, playing a little bit too aggressive down low as of late.
And it's one of the better defenders for Alaska Anchorage, and Keegan Crosby called for the foul. So with that, it'll be Crosby who will check out of the game for the Seawolves. And checking in will be Luke Devine, seeing his first action of the contest. Substitutions in for both sides, as it will be primarily a Central Washington's bench on the floor. This is Isaiah Banks for Matt Poquette. Poquette fakes the screen. Now here's Stafford with it, back to Poquette. Matt Poquette driving in on the inside, down low in the post, kicked out for Pollard. Micah Pollard lets it fly from 3. That one, not enough arc on that shot, so it will be Karlberg advancing on ahead for Alaska Anchorage. Near side now for the carryover from Crosby. Crosby now with it. Crosby hesitates, near side now for the carryover from Sweet. Dropped back down for Luke Devine, a shot, and he scores! Luke Devine, first action of the game, first offensive possession, the first basket for him.
Couple great points right there for the freshman from Wasilla, Alaska.
Here comes Central Washington with it. Pollard bounce pass in for Jeanette. Jeanette in on Hunter Sweet, kicked outside for Isaiah Banks. Banks rides to the inside on Karlberg, and he scores! What a play from Isaiah Banks!
A great drive right there, and to finish it off, looks like they just tied it up again.
45-45. Here's Rollins looking to answer. No look pass. He finds Sweet. His jumper for 2 is good. Hunter Sweet with the answer. And Alaska Anchorage takes a 47-45 lead.
As the offense look like they're going to be going back and forth for a little bit right here.
Back and forth they go. Micah Pollard looking to add to the scoring here. Here's Isaiah Banks. Banks drifting in, pump fakes, and it goes out of the reach of Micah Pollard and out of play.
Bit of an unforced error once again right there for Central Washington. They're doing a good job at the start of the half to try and solve those, but to see it pop up right there again, not a great sign.
So with that, Alaska Anchorage will have possession as we are nearing the 5-minute mark so far gone by here in this second half. Danny DeBach alongside Michael Jones. Great to have you along here, Michael. It's always quite a thrill to be working a game alongside you, my friend.
I love being here. I love being here with your great intensity on your calls and to watch some great basketball. Central Washington basketball tonight has been already very electric, and game's not even over just yet.
Close games throughout, and especially in the women's game and now in the men's game as well. A big game in terms of the women's standings, as it was Western Washington with the victory over Central. So that definitely changes the playoff picture for both Central and Alaska Anchorage's women's teams in terms of the playoff picture. As the Seawolves of Alaska Anchorage, they are 0-1 on the campaign against Western, 1-0 against Central. So knowing this, that definitely changes up the standings a little bit as well. So knowing this, with Alaska Anchorage, it'll be important for them, especially with their winning streak against Central, to see if they can keep that going in a few weeks when Alaska Anchorage comes to town. Also, for Western Washington, they are proving why they're still a GNAC force, even without Danny Owami. So very impressive there. So knowing this, these games down the stretch carry immense importance for both these two schools, Central and Alaska Anchorage.
Oh yeah, and I just love to see both these men's and women's programs for these two universities are having such great seasons.
Here comes Alaska Anchorage. They have the ball, they have the lead, they're up by 2. And it is Rollins to the inside now for Hunter Sweet for Alaska Anchorage. Down low in the post, elevates his jumper, it's good! What a play by Hunter Sweet, and it's now a 4-point Seawolves lead. Here comes Xavier Smith for Isaiah Banks now with it for Central. Banks, the transfer off the Poquet screen, drifts right through on Carlberg. What a play from Isaiah Banks!
Central's starting to figure out they can get easier baskets on the inside than they have to just settle taking three-pointers, and it's gotten them back in it.
Here is Rollins, bounce pass for the carryover now over on the far side. Here is the near side play for Rollins. Rollins with it. Rollins to the outside for Carlberg. Tobin Carlberg separates free, shoots the 3 and scores. Tobin Carlberg, another 3-pointer. And it's now 19 points on the night for Carlberg himself.
Carlberg went a little bit quiet there for a couple minutes, but he's right back and firing away.
Xavier Smith, he got hot in the second half, stoppage in play, and there will be a foul called, as there will be a foul on Alaska Anchorage. Central Washington with possession on the baseline.
Only 6 minutes here into the second half, and Alaska Anchorage already at 5 fouls. Not a great start.
The foul will be going against Luke Devine. And now a turnover. What a defensive play there by Carlberg.
What a great play right there to be able to get the turnover forced, get the ball back, and have a chance to extend your lead.
So it'll be Alaska Anchorage after the change of possession, up by 5 with 6 minutes gone by here in the second half. Carlberg across the timeline. He is able to find David Rollins. The Dayton, Ohio native. Far side now for Carlberg. Tobin Carlberg in on Pollard. Elevates off the front end of the rim, but the rebound, however, goes right to Keegan Crosby. He finds Rollins. Rollins stops on the dime, driving right through the double team. And the last touch would figure to be off of Central. And yes, it will be Alaska Anchorage ball.
Bit of a lucky break right there. The refs could have easily given that going the other way, but Anchorage gets to keep possession, and with 13 on the shot clock, they might be able to get a 3-pointer off if they want it.
Here's Devine handing off now for Rollins into the corner. Carlberg, a 3. Comes up empty there.
Nearly hit another one just like that.
Here is Smith, Xavier Smith. Far side for Jeanette. Jeanette back to Smith. Smith working on the edge. Cycled over to the near side for Banks. Banks through the man-to-man defense. The Central finds Matt Poquet. Poquet all alone is Micah Pollard with a 3. Off the front of the rim. Rejected there. It'll be Carlberg advancing the other way with Alaska Anchorage up by 5. Carlberg riding in on Matt Poquet. Stops on a dime. Puts one. Unfriendly roll. Rebounded right to Hunter Sweet of Alaska Anchorage. Working to the outside now. Carlberg again. Here is Tobin Carlberg. Near side for Crosby. Crosby for the drifting Rollins, top of the key. Turns, elevates a 3-pointer. Off the back of the rim. Rebound, however, by Crosby. Now for Sweet. Hunter Sweet on the outside. Stops up. Pivots near side for Crosby. Crosby for Rollins. Splits the D. Slicing right through. Lost the ball. Spin move by Pollard. Stoppage in play. And that'll be a foul after that sequence there. And with that, the foul looks to be going against, I believe, Alaska Anchorage. The foul will be credited against Luke Devine.
His second foul, and that brings him to 6 already on the half now. Central's essentially in the bonus here with 12 minutes left to go.
So it'll be Jeanette who will check out of the game. Thompson checks in, as it'll be David Lindgren who will also come in for Matt Poquette. So substitutions into the game for Central Washington. Alaska Anchorage will have Devine, Crosby, Carlberg, along with Sweet and Caleb Larson in the game. Banks, far side now for Xavier Smith. Smith drifting into the corner, Stafford a three. That one rattles out the unfriendly roll. And still the game is now still a 5-point lead, 52-47 for Alaska Anchorage. Far side now for Sweet. Sweet off the Devine screen, finding Carlberg. 8 minutes gone by here. Here is Carlberg. Sachets right through, drifts in, turns, elevates. Can't find the roll. Rebound, however, by Crosby. Crosby with a renewed shot clock. Now a stoppage and play and a foul on Isaiah Banks. And for Banks, that is not a good play there. That is now his third foul of the contest.
Not what you want to see out of somebody who has been giving quality minutes tonight in Isaiah Banks.
So it'll be Matt Poquette who will check back in during the next play, as we have just reached past the 9-minute mark here in the second half. Alaska Anchorage still up 42-47. A little bit cold here with very little scoring so far in this contest during this stretch in the second half.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to who's going to step up for one of these teams to go out there and win you the game. Because in a close game, we talked about earlier, Alaska Anchorage is a very veteran team. They can win close games. For Central, they need to try and put it in now. They can't wait and try and make a comeback in the last 5 minutes. They're down 5. All it takes is 2 shots to take the lead back. You need to try and get those 2 shots coming up in the next few minutes so you have time to work with to try and extend the lead instead of having to make a comeback late.
It was Central who trailed for the majority of the game against Alaska Fairbanks, and they didn't see their first second half lead until with about 2 minutes left to go. And it was Xavier Smith driving in for a layup that gave Central Washington their first lead of that contest. So knowing this, Central Washington, same story here. They're playing from behind. But this opponent, Alaska Anchorage, this is a team that is known for their offense and offensive prowess all around, as practically any player can really beat you for this Alaska Anchorage team offensively.
Oh, of course. And right now, it's going to start and end with Tobin Carlberg, who already has an impressive stat line with 12 minutes left to go. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 steals. What a performance already tonight, and there's still a bunch of game left to play.
Already above his average coming into tonight. Here is Alaska Anchorage. This is Caleb Larson, stoppage and play, and it'll be a foul called on David Thompson, his second foul of the game, and it's not, if there's ever a foul to take for Thompson, that's not one that you want.
No, not really. Nothing was really to gain there from that foul. It was just a little bit of not a smart play right there, and unfortunately, it just racks up to get him the second one.
And it is three fouls in the half for Central, 6 for Alaska Anchorage. Here's Keegan Crosby, near side for Carlberg. Carlberg guarded by Lindgren. Carlberg riding to the outside for Larson. Larson, 5 seconds on the shot clock, drifting in, turns, elevates, off the rim. Rebound right to Caleb Larson. Renewed shot clock. Here comes Alaska Anchorage again. Still a 52-47 lead for them. Bounce pass, Augie Panovich makes the layup. It's now a lead of 54-47 in favor of Alaska Anchorage.
Panovich comes right off the bench to make his presence felt.
Thompson top of the key with it. Thompson shaking big, finding Stafford with it. Inside for Poquette, lobbed up ahead. Xavier Smith drifting right in as he ran out of real estate, as he drove in with speed and, in fact, too much speed.
Unfortunately, couldn't quite turn the corner right there and ran right out of bounds to try and get the pass off. It'll be Anchorage ball going the other way.
So with that, it will be Alaska Anchorage to inbound, as Central Washington has gone cold, as they have not been on the scoreboard for quite a while now. Here is Alaska Anchorage on the inbounds play. It's Tobin Carlberg with it now for Alaska Anchorage. Advancing up ahead, this is Carlberg. Already 19 points on the night for scoring for the Seawolves. Here's Larson far side. Thrust along for Garrity. Pump fakes on Jeanette. Near side for Carlberg. Now for Larson. Caleb Larson off the screen, set up by Sweet. Here is Sweet down low in the post. drifting on Thompson, turning, spinning, putting one up. And it's a loose ball gathered in by Matt Poquette, and out comes Central Washington. They haven't scored in a long time. Thompson looking to change that. Sachets in. Far side for Lindgren. Into the corner for Colby Jeanette. Now for the carryover from Matt Poquette. Poquette and on Augie Panovich. Lets it fly, and that one comes up short. I didn't partially looking for an attempted shot pass for Lindgren. Instead, Alaska Anchorage will advance the other way. And here is Tobin Karlberg. Karlberg right to the rack, rejected by the rim. Panovich the rebound, however. Into the corner, Larson. And the last touch as it will be another foul called, this time on Colby Jeanette. And for Jeanette, it's his first foul of the contest.
Unfortunately, right now for the Wildcats, they're racking up fouls at just the worst time. They need to try and take their advantage of the fouls and try and use it. They don't want to get high up and get into the bonus for Anchorage themselves.
And it's nearly 5 minutes since Central Washington has scored. Here's Panovich with it. Augie Panovich driving on Matt Poquette, and he scores! Augie Panovich with the play, and he was looking for the and one foul too as well.
And that looks like it'll be a foul call. I believe it is a flopping foul call.
So
Not one you see often, as he tried to take the charge, but unfortunately did not really sell it that well, and the ref's going to call foul on it.
Thompson lets it fly from three. David Thompson with a three-pointer, and Central Washington clawing right back into it. It's now a 6-point game.
That was their first points in 5 minutes.
Unbelievable. So after that, here comes Alaska Anchorage with Rollins. Far side now for Karlberg. Karlberg drifting in the paint, turns, elevates, rejected by the rim. Thompson on ahead for Central. Thompson stops up, lets it fly from three as he was contacted on the play. And Brandon Rinta, someone not really known for his emotion, is stating his case on the Central sideline.
I could see where it could go either way. It didn't look like he made contact from this angle that we are currently calling it in the crow's nest here in the path, but it very well could have been a lot of contact on that three. Either way, no foul was called. Ball's still in Central Washington's hand. It's a new play.
So it will be Central Washington who will inbound. This is David Thompson for Central, as we have some substitutions in the game, as it was Caleb Larson who was in the air as he was out of bounds on that sequence, giving Central Washington possession. So offensively for Central, it will be David Thompson on the floor alongside Stafford Poquette, Colby Jeanette, and Xavier Smith. On the other side of the coin for Alaska Anchorage, as the officials are still in the rendezvous over in the central attacking zone. And now there's a discussion that's going to be held at the scorers table.
And it looks like it may be a technical foul called on the Central Washington coach.
So knowing this, not something that you typically see. So yes, a technical foul they'll be called on Brandon Rinta. Very much a surprise. And for Alaska Anchorage, of course, you're going to put Tobin Karlberg there, and he misses that technical free throw. What a surprise there, as you would expect Karlberg, the leading scorer so far tonight, to provide the scoring touch, but it's Karlberg who misses that. So now here comes Central. Far side for Jeanette, now for Thompson. Thompson springs right through and misses that chance, as it'll be Augie Panovich up ahead for Alaska Anchorage. Beg your pardon, that was Rollins in for the free throw. And a block on the play from Matt Poquette, out of bounds. Last touch off of Panovich. Central Washington will have possession.
Nice way to hustle back on defense right there by the Wildcats, not only to get the block, but to get the ball back. Now they need to try and turn that into points on the other end.
56-50 game. Both teams have gone cold offensively. Thompson looking to change that, finds Amari Stafford. Stafford back for Thompson, elevates, off the rim, rejected, and a stoppage in play. And it'll be a foul called. That'll be going against Caleb Larson, and for Larson, his second personal of the contest. And now that puts Central Washington in the bonus. So it'll be Amari Stafford shooting 1-and-1.
A scary foul right there, as he went up to try and get the rebound, gets backed up from the knees, almost ended up on his back, which is a scary thing to have happen. He's fine, though, and shooting free throws.
And that free throw is up and through. And it's now a 5-point Alaska Anchorage lead.
One thing to note now, though, the Wildcats are in the bonus the rest of the way. That could make a big impact, especially with how decent a free throw shooting team they are.
And also Alaska Anchorage racking up the fouls as well. And it's Stafford, as the free throw rolls across the bowl. And now we have another stoppage in play, As now, what do we have there? It is the net on the hoop that was tangled up on the rim. And with that, play has stopped for the moment, but it was Augie Panovich using his height to unravel the net there.
It doesn't hurt to be tall.
Doesn't hurt to be 6'7". And a steal. Here's Xavier Smith, one-on-one on Rollins. Misses the layup. It's loose. Poquette on the steal. Far side now for Thompson. Thompson back now for Poquette into the corner. Stafford for Thompson. Thompson now a stoppage of play. He had a foot on the sideline. And after that wild sequence, Alaska Anchorage can take a breath now.
Unfortunately, a wasted opportunity for the Wildcats, able to possibly get an easy layup and take a 3-point deficit now. Unfortunately, Anchorage can extend this as much as 8 points.
Can they do it? Near side, this is a lob play in for Panovich. Panovich in on Poquette. Looking gain some space, lost control to handle the ball initially. It comes loose into the corner. Caleb Larson. Larson guarded by Jeanette, fakes the shot to the inside now for Panovich. Panovich in on Poquette. He scores! What a play from Augie Panovich!
A beautiful post move. I think everybody saw him doing the exact drop step he wanted to. It doesn't matter though, he's gonna hit it every time.
Textbook right there. Near side for Stafford, inside for Poquette. Guarded by Panovich again. And a spin move, sashing right through Panovich. Poquette to the rack. And it's now a 5-point Alaska Anchorage lead. 7:41 left to go here in the second half. And it's Central Washington still playing catch-up, slowly working their way and keeping pace with Alaska Anchorage.
I think it's going to come down to the bigs right now. Poquette and Panovich are having a nice battle down low on both ends of the court, and it doesn't appear to be stopping anytime soon.
So knowing this, it will be quite the contest down the stretch, and taking a look at what this means for the GNAC picture as well. So knowing what is here at stake here, Michael, for both these two teams pending on this result here tonight.
I mean, right now, this is a giant matchup for both teams. I think anything that happens tonight is going to have a big impact on, not just them, but the rest of the GNAC. Because if you look at it, for both these teams' win percentage, you're trying to stay above the 500 mark. And any loss that you have drops you a bit closer. For both these teams, they are just above the 500 mark. So if Alaska Anchorage loses this one and possibly another one, they could drop down, and it changes everything. All kinds of points get moved around, and the standings look drastically different. You can say the same thing about Central, though. They're not that far above 500 either. So for either the loser of this game needs to try and stay up right now if they want to keep the standings looking the way they are.
A score update with what's going on in Bellingham over at Wiku Court. It was St. Martin's in the first matchup between these two teams that jumped out to a huge lead. They have done that again. St. Martin's leading right now against Western Washington by 17, 40-23, and another made three there. That makes it now a 43-23 game. So St. Martin's seeming to pour it on, especially against Western Washington in that contest. And if that were to take place, it would be Western that will stay below 500, surprisingly. Western, a team that did sweep Central Washington in the season series, including a matchup on Tuesday against Central Washington. Back in the action, Alaska Anchorage, a 58-53 lead over Central. This is Hunter Sweet for the Seawolves, finding Rollins. David Rollins cycled on ahead, drifting, driving A.J. Garrity inside now for Carlberg. 5 seconds on the shot clock. As it's Panovich in a heap of trouble, it'll be a jump ball possession arrow in favor of Central Washington.
Big opportunity right now for the Wildcats to cut it down to a 1-possession lead if they can find a good look.
What look will they look to make? Looking at Central Washington, who they have on the floor. Stafford will check out of the game. Isaiah Banks is in. Banks, however, does have 3 fouls in the contest. Thompson drifting in. Far side bounce pass in for Xavier Smith. Drop down low for Poquette. Poquette and Panovich, the matchup we're looking for tonight. But here's Colby Jeanette. To the outside, dropped for Thompson. David Thompson to the edge. Thompson lets it fly from 3. Off the rim, Poquette, the rebound on Panovich. Puts one up and scores. The offensive rebound for Poquette leads to the score, and it's now a 3-point game.
A big play right there from the big as he's making big shot after big shot right now for the Wildcats.
Here comes Alaska Anchorage. Roland stops up, finds Hunter Sweet. 6:35 left to go in regulation. Here's Augie Panovich looking to extend the lead. He does! Augie Panovich makes it a 60-55 Anchorage lead.
Panovich says everything you can do, I can do better.
Thompson looking to respond. finds Matt Poquette. His jumper is good. Matt Poquette, not known for his jumper. He makes that one. It's a 3-point Anchorage lead.
And these two bigs are just going to go against each other the entire game, it looks like.
Garrity now for the near side play for the carryover for Keegan Crosby. Crosby for Garrity. Garrity on the far side, into the corner now for Sweet, in for Panovich. Panovich defended by Poquette to the outside now. Sweet in for Panovich again. Panovich down low, 5 seconds on the shot clock. In a heap of trouble, kicked out far side. Deep three from Rollins is good! What a three-pointer from David Rollins! And Alaska Anchorage extends their lead. They're up by 6. Here's Central looking to counter. Thompson open, working off the screen from Poquette. His floater is missed.
And that's a missed opportunity right there for the Wildcats. Now the Seawolves can try and extend their lead if they can find a good shot.
Rollins fresh off the 3. Has Crosby now, hands off for the carryover, that being from Rollins. Rollins near side for Crosby. Crosby in for Panovich. Panovich down low. Crosby quick pass. Deep 3 from Garrity is missed.
Great ball movement right there. Just couldn't quite get the shot to fall. Now the Wildcats can try and cut back into the lead.
Xavier Smith with it on Rollins. Turn, spin move. His jumper off the rack and in.
A huge shot right there, hitting the fadeaway, using the backboard. I mean, a perfect shot.
4:50 left to go in regulation. Alaska Anchorage with a 4-point lead. Here is Keegan Crosby, guarded by Jeanette. On the edge, finds Garrity with it. A.J. Garrity working to the edge. Guarded by Jeanette, far side now for Rollins. Rollins seeing a lot of action here in the second half, and a turnover. Smith on ahead for David Thompson, in on Garrity. He scores in the layup, and that makes it now a 2-point game. And another technical foul do we see?
This one's going to be called on David Thompson. It looked like there was a bit of a foul on the shot. The ref did not call it. Thompson was not too happy about it. Let the ref hear it. The ref did not like it, and it's going to tee him up right there.
So with that, Brandon Rinta taking a page out of former head coach Greg Sparling's book, and it's another technical foul. So with that, Hunter Sweet will be at the line for the technical free throw. Alaska Anchorage with a 63-61 advantage. Make it 64 with that made free throw from Hunter Sweet. The second attempt for Sweet after that sequence. So Sweet at the line. He will make the second free throw as well for Alaska Anchorage.
And just like that, it takes away the 2 points that Thompson just scored on the fast break. And the Seawolves have the chance now to extend this lead once again.
4:28 left to go here in the second half. Alaska Anchorage with possession, 65-61. They are in front. As we're heading towards the final stretch here in this game, Alaska Anchorage looking for a massive win in the standings with a win for them. According to our playoff formula that is up to date, Alaska Anchorage with a win would be in first place. If with a loss, oh boy, that's what we would simply say, because it'll be tough for all the mathematicians out there if Alaska Anchorage were to lose this game, try and figure out what would happen there. Meanwhile, here's David Rollins for Alaska Anchorage, and he loses control of the ball. Xavier Smith in a 3-on-1. Smith drives right through with the slam.
A big bucket right there in transition, and the Wildcats cut it back to a 1-possession lead with 4 minutes to go.
Here comes Central looking to change the tide. Here's Tobin Karlberg off the Panovich screen. Near side now for Crosby. Crosby, the facilitator, finds Sweet. Hunter Sweet for Rollins, far side for Karlberg. Karlberg, one problem, it'll be a foul called on the play. That'll be going against Xavier Smith, his first foul of the contest. So with that, with Smith with the foul, 15 points on the night for him. But knowing what we've seen so far, Central Washington after the steal, after the turnover, it's now a 2-point game here, Michael.
I know, and right now it feels like this game has been just all over the place. And I'm surprised it's a 2-point game. It feels like either of these two teams could have pulled away at any given moment, but right now it feels like they just keep drawing back into each other. And with just under 4 minutes to go, this one could come down to whoever has the ball last.
We'll see if it does take place. It came down to the final possession in the women's game. We'll see if it takes place in the men's game here. Alaska Anchorage, a 65-63 advantage over Central Washington University in what has been a great contest all around with great offensive play on both these two sides. So knowing this, a very special game in that regard in terms of the scoring all around. So also taking a look at what we've seen here as they are nearing the end of the first half over at Wiku Court in Western Washington, as it is St. Martin's. They still have a healthy advantage over Western Washington. They lead 48-32 under 2 minutes ago in the first half of that contest. But also taking a look at what we've seen, it's Alaska Anchorage with a 2-point advantage with 3:45 left to go in the game. Massive playoff implications. This game will shake up the GNAC player in one way, shape, or form. And it'll be Alaska Anchorage looking to extend their 2-point advantage with 3:45 to go. Here's Panovich with it now. Sweet, far side for the carry out from Caleb Larson. Larson into the corner for Carlberg. They love using him. Near side all alone is Keegan Crosby finding Panovich now. Panovich and on Poquette, using his height advantage. It's still loose. Poquette emerges free with the ball, however.
And the Wildcats have a chance to possibly tie it up or take the lead right here if they can find a good look.
3:20 left in the game. Alaska Anchorage up by 2. Here is Thompson. Sachets in. Elevates down low for Poquette. Thrusts it out for Xavier Smith. Thought about the 3. Now drifting in on Crosby. His jumper to tie the game. He's got it.
What a shot right there by the X Factor. And just like that, it's tied up.
65-65. 17 points on the night for Xavier Smith. Carlberg handing off now for Sweet. Hunter Sweet takes his time. Thought about passing to Larson. Thought about him a second time. Then instead lobs to Panovich. Panovich with it now. With a battle underneath the hoop in Banks and Carlberg. Now it's Panovich taking center stage. Stoppage of play. And that'll be a... was it 3 seconds?
That'll be a charge called on Panovich right there as he was trying to back him down, throw a little bit too much of an elbow, it looked like, in there. That's going to be a charge going the other way. That's his 4th of the game now.
That might be big, and it will be Rusty Osborne of Alaska Anchorage, the head coach for them, keeping Panovich on the floor for this final stretch. 2:30 left to go in the contest. Here is Thompson. Thompson hesitates, drops down low for Poquette. Regains control of the ball to the outside now for Isaiah Banks. Banks drifting and lost control of his... Well, now we have a foul that'll be called in the play. That's going to be going against Caleb Larson. For Larson, his 3rd foul of the contest.
A tough foul right there, too, because if you back off, don't get that much contact, with how he was moving, it would have been a travel. Wouldn't even gotten the shot off. Instead, gets a little bit too aggressive, causes the foul, and now he's going to the line.
Costly foul by Larson. So it'll be Crosby and Larson checking out of the game. Garrity is back on the floor for Alaska Anchorage, along with Hunter Sweet. Isaiah Banks at the line, 65-65, 2:21 left to go in regulation. Here is Banks at the line. This free throw is missed on the 1-and-1. So it'll be Alaska Anchorage advancing the other way, looking to take the lead. They've led for the majority of the game. It's now a tie game, 2:10 left to go in regulation. Into the corner now for Carlberg. Carlberg stops up now for Garrity. Garrity guarded by Jeanette, lobbed in for Augie Panovich. Panovich pump fakes again. On Poquette, working to the inside, turns, using his body, still loose. Panovich the rebound. Stoppage in play, and that'll be a foul that'll be called. It'll be 1-and-1, as it'll be now Alaska Anchorage also in the bonus as well, as it'll be Augie Panovich at the line, 79% free throw shooter. And in terms for Alaska Anchorage, Panovich is a guy who can do it all.
And that was a pretty fortunate foul right there for the Wildcats, because unfortunately, they're in bonus. You don't have to worry about that. But sending Panovich to the line, he's not the best free throw shooter in the world. You might be able to get away with one right here.
79% on the season. He makes that free throw, and Alaska Anchorage is in the lead on the first of the 1-and-1 for Panovich.
One thing to take into note, though, that is, I believe, the 3rd foul on Matt Poquette for the Wildcats, the key player here as of late.
Panovich misses the 2nd free throw. 66-65, Alaska Anchorage out in front. As they advance up the floor, Smith near side for Thompson. Thompson, offensive foul called on David Thompson.
A big charge taken right there by, doesn't even matter if he's scoring the ball. Tobin Carlberg comes out, draws a charge right there on Thompson, and gets the ball back.
So with that foul for Thompson, now he is starting to find himself into foul trouble as well. 3 personal fouls in the contest. 1:45 left to go. So Alaska Anchorage, you have the ball, you're up by 1. So what are you trying to do here, especially in this sequence with the lead on the road after the long road trip from Alaska down here to Ellensburg? What do you dial up here, up by 1?
I think first and foremost, you're not looking to rush a shot. You don't need a three-pointer. You don't need a basket. What you need to do is take some time off the clock. Don't give the Wildcats an opportunity later on to capitalize on you giving a rush shot. Just put points on the board. If you can get even just 2 points, it make their lead a 3-point lead, and at the best, the Wildcats can tie it up. Right now, you have to trust that your defense is playing good basketball right now and can slow down the Wildcats on the other end.
For Central Washington, it comes down to one battle in particular, and that one battle has been rather even throughout, and that's between Panovich as well as Poquette. But how does this change, especially with Panovich with 4 fouls?
I don't think it changes anything. I think at this point in the game, with under 2 minutes to go in such a close game, the foul trouble does not matter anymore. I think with Panovich, he may pick up that 5th foul here coming up, but you can't risk having him sit on the bench and just have to deal with it.
And it will be Panovich on the floor. Him and Matt Poquette have been going at it all night. Here is Garrity for Alaska Anchorage up the wing. Hands off now for the carryover from Rollins. Now Garrity with it, off the return, handoff. Here is Garrity stopping up into the corner now, lobbed in by Rollins, in for Panovich. Panovich to the outside now for Garrity. Garrity drifts in, back for Panovich, turns, elevates, and scores. What a play from Augie Panovich.
And that right there is why you leave him in the game right now, even with 4 fouls.
1:18 left to go in regulation. Timeout called by Brandon Rinta of Central Washington, as it's Alaska Anchorage up by 3. 1:17 left to go in the contest. Alaska Anchorage nursing a 3-point lead. So now you're Central Washington. You have possession, and taking a look at what we see here tonight. Which matchup are you looking for in particular? Is it going to be down in the paint, or is it going to be on the perimeter?
I think right now you have to look at a perimeter shot if you need to, because not as much on this possession, but you need to try and find a way to get an open look later in the game, because this could come down to you need to hit a 3 to win the game. And you need to set that up right now, whether it's running a play that you're going to change later on to get the defense off guard, or just hitting a 3 right here to tie it up. You're going to have to find one of your guards to make a big play here coming up in the next minute or so.
We'll see what takes place down the stretch in this contest between Alaska Anchorage and Central Washington University, as it is the Alaska homestand for Central. The first game proved to be down to the wire, and it's been down to the wire up to this point. And with 1 minute and 17 seconds left to go in the contest. Colby Jeanette to inbound for Central Washington University. Jeanette takes his time, finds Matt Poquette. Cycled on ahead for David Thompson. Thompson down low for Poquette. Poquette for Smith. Xavier Smith sachets on, free from Garrity to the edge. Here's Smith drifting in, turns, pivots a 3rd time. Stoppage in play, and that will be a foul called on that sequence, and that looks to be going against Tobin Carlberg, and that is his first. Beg your pardon, no, that's Keegan Crosby called on the foul for the Seawolves.
That'll be his 3rd foul, and it'll send Smith to the line, taking 2 shots now with double bonus.
And it is Smith at the line, and one of the better free throw shooters for Central, makes the first one.
Right now, if you're Central, you need to hit this shot and get back on defense right away to set up. Because right now, running a man may not be the best option for this defense.
62 seconds left to go in regulation. Smith at the line, looking to make it a 1-point game. Smith, who has made some crucial free throws down the stretch for the Central Washington team in close games, makes that one, and it's now a 1-point game. A minute to go in regulation. This is Tobin Carlberg with it now for Alaska Anchorage. Across the timeline, handing off now for Rollins. Far side now, Carlberg cycled on ahead for Hunter Sweet. Near side for Garrity, in for Augie Panovich. Far side now for David Rollins. Rollins back now for Carlberg. Carlberg lets the fry for 3. That one's missed. A loose ball scrambled, gathered in by David Rollins of Alaska Anchorage. Garrity in for Panovich. 35 seconds left to go. Anchorage now with a 1-point lead. Augie Panovich on Matt Poquette, taking his time. He lost control of the ball. It's loose. Over the far side now for Sweet. Sweet regains control. Still loose. His jumper off the rim and in. What a sequence from Sweet. And just like that, a timeout. 20.4 seconds left to go. Alaska Anchorage with a 3-point lead.
And now is when you're going to be looking at the Wildcats to hit a 3 to try and win the game right here. Right now,
To tie the game.
thank you. With how much time is left right now, you can't look at a 2 on the inside if it's quick enough and easy enough to cut it down to a 1-point lead, and then you foul and hope they miss a free throw. But it could just be easier to try and get the 3 set up, hit it, and try and tie the game, whether that's to send it into overtime or try to win it in the last 10 seconds. You got to be looking at the 3-pointer now.
So knowing this, Central Washington does have one timeout as Rusty Osborne has called a timeout for Alaska Anchorage in this sequence. So knowing this, you with what we've seen from Central, who are you setting up your play for?
I think it's got to be Xavier Smith. I feel like he was made for this moment right now for the Wildcats. Not to say that there isn't going to be a player on this team that could take the shot, but if you're looking at a guy to set it up for, it's got to be Xavier Smith.
We'll see what Central brings as they will inbound on the far baseline, moving from left to right. Here comes Thompson up the wing. Thompson now setting up in the attacking zone for Smith. 15 seconds to go. Smith elevates a 3 for the tie. He's got it! Xavier Smith ties the game with 11.6 to go.
And just like that, they set it up for Smith. He comes out, he hits the shot because that's the kind of player he is.
Smith ties it up with 11.6 to go. And with that, Alaska Anchorage will now have the last shot of regulation.
I felt like the answer was obvious for setting up for Xavier Smith, and maybe just as obvious for Alaska Anchorage right now. You got to set up Carlberg for this shot. He may have been a bit quiet here in the second half, but he is easily the most designed to take a shot right here to win it in the last 11 seconds.
So knowing this, it's going to go to Carlberg, you would imagine. But also, it's a tie ball game. So I would not be surprised here, Michael, if we see that matchup between Poquette and Panovich coming to play in this last 11.6.
I think what they're going to try and set up is about 6 or 7 seconds left in the game. They're going to try and take a shot with Carlberg and see if they can get Panovich on the inside to get an offensive rebound to potentially get a putback at the buzzer too if they need to.
We'll see if that takes place. With that, we'll pause 10 seconds to let our stations identify themselves. This is the WSRN.
You're listening to the Wildcat Sports Radio Network on KCWU Ellensburg.
Back here on the WSRN, Danny Yabak alongside Michael Jones. If you're just tuning in just now, you are in for a thrilling final 11.6 seconds left in the contest. The game tied at 70. Alaska Anchorage to inbound in their own defensive end, looking to set up a final play and the win. So here is A.J. Garrity to inbound for Alaska Anchorage. Takes his time, inbounds in for Panovich, 10 seconds to go. They advance up the floor. On the far side, Garrity across the timeline, working his way through, and a loose ball, still loose, emerging free, and his sweet for the win! Off the rim, and that is the way this game will reach the end of regulation. And with that, we are headed for overtime.
What a way to end this game. I felt like this was a close game from start to finish already, and now we need a couple more minutes to try and decide who really wins this one.
It'll be a 5-minute period to decide who will come out in front. Alaska Anchorage and Central Washington University, as it was a dramatic final few seconds, but in the end of regulation, it was one key star for Central Washington with the big 3 at the end to tie the game.
Xavier Smith came up so clutch in that moment. We talked about it right after that play. They have to be setting up a shot for him. Not only did they, he came in, got the big moment he wanted, hit the shot, and then, we're going to overtime now. Maybe he wins us the game because of it.
So knowing this, taking a look at what we've seen so far down the stretch for Central Washington in overtime in terms of men's basketball, the first overtime game at home. However, this is not the first overtime game for Central Washington as a whole throughout the season. They've lost some very difficult games. They lost to Alaska Fairbanks in overtime. It was Shadid Shabazz with a game-winning jumper at nearly when time was expiring. This is a Central Washington team that has lost 3 games with game-winning shots within the last 1 second of a play. So knowing this, Central Washington, they have seen their fair share of heartbreaks. But now things might be able to change, especially during this stretch here, and now in extra time, in overtime.
Exactly, and I think this is going to be a big test for Central Washington because, as we said before the game, this is a veteran Alaska Anchorage team. They are built for moments like these. Do you think that all these starters have never played an overtime game before? They've played a ton, and I think that's what's going to be a big difference maker for the Seawolves if they win.
Central Washington will move from left to right across your radio dial. And here, overtime is underway. Alaska Anchorage wins the opening tip-off of overtime, as this is David Rowlands with it. Far side now for the carryover from A.J. Garrity. Garrity hands off now for Sweet. Sweet to the inside for Panovich, guarded by Poquette. Panovich with the 4 fouls, working to the inside. Outlets for Sweet, a 3. That one's good. Hunter Sweet with a 3-pointer. Alaska Anchorage a 73-70 lead.
Big shot, strikes first here in overtime. Central Washington has to answer back right here.
4:30 left to go in overtime. Here's Poquette with it. Matt Poquette taking his time in on Panovich. Left-handed drive to the outside now for Xavier Smith. In for Poquette. Matt Poquette. Dribble drive through on Poquette. Working on the 4 fouls. He puts one up. And Jeanette on the rebound. Scores.
A big play right there by Jeanette, being able to be in the right spot to get the putback and put it down to a 1-point lead.
Off the pass from Poquette, beg your pardon. Here is Panovich with it. Stoppage and play. That'll be a foul called. And that one looks to be going against...
It's going to be against Poquette.
That's his 4th foul of the contest here in overtime.
As it just shows, that physical battle down low now has both of the posts for these teams at 4 fouls. Whoever gets the 5th one, that may end up deciding the game with how close this is.
Very much so, and it cannot get any more even for both these two sides. As it'll be 1-on-1 shooting free throws, will be Augie Panovich. Panovich hits the rim, a loose ball. Jeanette on the rebound. Not get any more even in this matchup. Panovich and Poquette each with 13 points and 4 fouls. Here's Xavier Smith. Alaska Anchorage, a minute into overtime, up by 1. This is David Thompson. Thompson drifts right through, dropped down low and turned the ball over. Another steal. Thompson gets the return feed, and it was last touched off of Thompson. A great defensive effort to try and retrieve the ball after the initial turnover between Thompson and Jeanette. So with that, it'll be Alaska Anchorage who will inbound. And up the floor will come Rowlands for the Seawolves, up by 1. Here's Sweet, hands off for Rowlands. Rowlands guarded by Isaiah Banks now for Central Washington. Now here's Panovich, regains control on the near side, working in on Poquette. Turns, patiently waits, elevates, and scores! Augie Panovich! And Alaska Anchorage now up by 3 with 3:20 to go in OT.
Panovich backs him down with 4 dribbles and then gets the bucket.
Here is Xavier Smith. Smith thrusts along far side. Jeanette, a 3 for the lead. Off the rim. Poquette on the rebound. Outside now for Smith. Smith drifts right in. Puts one up, and it's a loose ball. Last touch off of Matt Poquette. It'll be Alaska Anchorage now with it. Up 75-72. Both teams are contesting that they were the last one to contact the ball. Now they're going to give possession in favor of Central Washington. And it's Alaska Anchorage looking to send this to the replay monitor, and that's what they're going to do. And from our vantage point up in the Crow's Nest, it seems to be last touch off of Matt Poquette.
I mean, honestly, it's hard to tell from any angle. That was a very close call right there, and no surprise that they're going to want to try and go to the replay if they can.
With that,
and it looks like it'll be going to the Wildcats on this one.
With that, we'll pause 10 seconds later. Our stations identify themselves on the WSRN.
You're listening to the Wildcat Sports Radio Network on KCWU Ellensburg.
3:03 to go in overtime. Back in action. Alaska Anchorage up by 3. Matt Poquette drives in and misses entirely, and that is a huge foul on Augie Panovich. He is contesting his case, and with that, Poquette is going to head to the line, and with that, Panovich has fouled out of the game. A huge play there.
We talked about it just a couple minutes ago. The person between Poquette and Panovich who gets the 5th foul first could decide the game. And right there, that is a huge loss for Anchorage. He is a big playmaker down low and one of the top scorers for them as of late.
So now the responsibility in the paint might come down to Keegan Crosby, known for his defensive prowess on this Alaska Anchorage team. Poquette now at the line. Crucial free throws here. Poquette misses the first one, and it's still a 3-point Alaska Anchorage lead. As we have 2:59 left to go in overtime. Poquette for the next free throw. This will make it a 2-point game. A difficult loss for Alaska Anchorage with Panovich fouling out. Poquette makes the second free throw, and it's now a 2-point Seawolves lead.
Don't be surprised if the Seawolves try and keep it on the perimeter now without their biggest post in the game.
Here is Carlberg with it, guarded by Smith. Far side now for Sweet for the carryover, now by Keegan Crosby. Now Garrity with it. Garrity hangs on to it, to the inside. Looking for Rowlands. Shifts to the outside, finding Carlberg. Carlberg to the edge. He lets it fly from 3 off the rim. Smith on the rebound for Central.
Don't be surprised to go to Poquette now with Panovich out of the game. He has a bit of a mismatch down low if he can play physical enough.
As it's Poquette who lines up down low near the paint. Banks, and now here is Poquette, guarded now by Crosby for Alaska Anchorage. Poquette outside now for Thompson. Thompson working in on Carlberg. Into the corner now for Banks. Banks cycled back up ahead for Thompson. Fakes the three. Drives in. His jumper. That one's good. David Thompson ties the game at 75 with 2 minutes to go.
A lot of momentum going to the Wildcats right now. The Seawolves have to try and get a bucket right here if they want to bring it back to their side.
Carlberg for Garrity with it. A.J. Garrity hands off and a stoppage in play, and it will be a foul called. That one being on David Thompson, and I believe, and that is huge because for Thompson, he's now at 4 fouls in the contest.
And it does send the Seawolves to the line with double bonus as well. This is not a great possession right there for the Wildcats with a chance to get a stop maybe and take the lead. Now, Seawolves have a chance to make a 1 or 2 point lead.
And here is Rollins, misses the first free throw.
That's a tough shot right there, as even if he hits the second one, the Wildcats may have a chance to take the lead.
Here is the second free throw attempt for Rollins. Amidst the crowd here at Nicholson Pavilion, this free throw is good from Rollins. And it's now a 1 point lead for Alaska Anchorage with 1:50 to play.
Don't be surprised if Anchorage tries to step up and take a charge maybe on Thompson or on Paquette to try and foul them out on here.
Smith for Banks, near side for Thompson, in for Matt Poquette. Poquette drifting on Crosby, turns, elevates, left-handed floater, that one's missed. Rebounded by Alaska Anchorage in the form of Hunter Sweet. Sweet now hands off for Carlberg. Carlberg across the timeline. And he will work his way comfortably across the timeline as it's Carlberg working his way right through, turns, spins, takes his time, elevates on Jeanette! He scores! Tobin Carlberg gives Alaska Anchorage a 3 point lead. 75 seconds left to go. Here is Smith with it. Xavier Smith into the corner now for Jeanette. Jeanette drifting right through, and a stoppage in play. And that will be an defensive foul called on Keegan Crosby. And for Crosby, his 4th foul of the game.
That'll send Jeanette to the line as well as a double bonus to try and cut the lead down to 1 point for the Wildcats.
It doesn't get any better than this. 78-75 in overtime. Colby Jeanette at the line, shooting free throws with 67 seconds left to go. Here is Jeanette at the line for the first free throw. This will make it a 2 point game, which he successfully does off the ricochet, off the rim.
Solid game for Jeanette. Not quite the 18 point performance he had in the last game, but definitely a good performance. He's hitting the shots he needs to, and he's a chance to put up the double digits now if this one goes in.
Jeanette puts it in. A 1 point game with 67 seconds left to play. So it'll be Alaska Anchorage who will inbound.
If you're Alaska Anchorage right now, you want a quick shot. You want to try and stagger the time to try and get the last shot if you can. That means you want to probably get a shot up in about 10 to 15 seconds into the shot clock right here.
Carlberg with it, guarded by Banks. Carlberg on the near side, hands off for Crosby. Keegan Crosby working his way over the far side now for Rollins. Rollins, now this is Garrity. Garrity with it. Garrity's turning, spinning with time into the corner. Now Rollins, his jumper, and that is going to be a foul that'll be called. And with that, David Thompson has fouled out of the game, it seems.
Not a great look right there for the Wildcats as they almost got the stop right there. Unfortunately, Thompson's hand got a little bit too far inside. It'll be the foul, and he will be fouled out of the game, it appears.
So with that, it will be Thompson who will foul out. And looking at the lineup, as the officials are at the scorers table, and with that foul, they'll send Alaska Anchorage to the line. And with 42.9 seconds left to go in the contest, as it will be now Thompson with the 5 fouls. So replacing him on the floor will be, I believe, Isaiah Banks. So Banks will be in the game. Here is the crucial free throws at the line from Rollins. First one is missed.
Alaska Anchorage came into the game, we talked a little bit earlier, not the best free throw shooting team. And unfortunately, that's showing here late, and it's why they can't seal the game right now.
Here is Rollins again. Crucial free throw here. Rollins at the line. This free throw is off the rim.
That's a big shot right there. The Wildcats can take the lead here late if they can get a good look.
1 point lead for Alaska Anchorage. 35 seconds left to go in overtime. Banks for Matt Poquette. Poquette hands off for Smith. Smith on Crosby. His jumper for the lead. Off the rim. Jeanette the rebound. 24 seconds left to go. 3-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. And Brandon Rinta decides to call a timeout with 21.6 seconds left to go in the contest. Central Washington with possession, and with a 3-second disparity between the shot clock and the game clock, Alaska Anchorage does have a timeout, however. So knowing how both teams with timeouts now, or beg your pardon, now Central out of timeouts, what does that do in terms of this next shot?
I think right now you got to look at a shot to win the game, which means you're going to drag the time down. Probably not run a play until about 8 seconds left. Get a quick look for one of your key stars. Xavier Smith hit a shot at the end of regulation to put them into overtime. He may be in line to hit one right here to try and win them the game.
And also looking at some of the other key stars, now David Thompson, who was fouled out of the game. Thompson, so far in what he has contributed to the offensive output, 17 points on the night, 3 for 6 from 3. So if it's not him, well, if it's not also the X Factor himself, 22 points on the night for Xavier Smith, well, it could even be Colby Jeanette who might be relying
on this shot. Or it could be
shot.
Matt Paquette on the inside. They're only down 1. They can take a nice, easy layup, even from Paquette, take the lead. It makes Anchorage have to hit a shot here to win the game.
So we'll see what happens down the stretch. 1 point lead for Alaska Anchorage. 21.6 seconds left to go here in the first overtime. Isaiah Banks to inbound for Central, as it'll be Central Washington down by 1 with 21.6 to go. Banks inbounds in for Poquette, hands off for Banks. Banks rotating around the perimeter for Smith. Smith working in on Garrity, elevates for the lead, he's got it! Xavier Smith gives Central lead with 14.1 to go. Here comes Rollins on the far side. Rollins drifting in, and it'll be a stoppage in play and a timeout that will be called for by Alaska Anchorage with 9.9 to go. Central with a 79-78 lead.
There we go. You got to see Xavier Smith. They set him up once in regulation. They're going to send him up again in overtime. Now, with 10 seconds left, they put the ball in Anchorage's hands. I think right now, you got to look. Do not let them get anything on the inside. They're a solid shooting team, especially from the inside. You want to have to make them take a contested 3 if you can at the buzzer. Will they hit it? You never know. But that's the best chance you have of having them miss a shot here at the end.
So with that, Central Washington a 79-78 lead with 10 seconds left to go in what has been an incredible contest, as we have seen end-to-end action on both sides of the ball, and also key subtractions in the lineup. Fouling out of the game for Central Washington, David Thompson, and for Alaska Anchorage, it is a big loss in Augie Panovich as well. So knowing this, you don't have that pain presence, you might, well, you're going to want to try and rely on Carlberg to try and win the game for you.
And right now for the Wildcats, what they're going to want to do, shut down Carlberg, make somebody like Rowland or even Sweet go out there and hit the shot themselves. Those are slightly less proficient three-point shooters for this Anchorage team, especially tonight. You want to put the ball in their hands. All it is right now for the Wildcats, giving yourselves the best chance of winning the game, and to do that, you do not want the ball in Carlberg's hands.
Both teams out of timeouts. A.J. Garrity to inbound for Alaska Anchorage with 10 seconds left to go. And here we go. Garrity on the inbounds play. Takes his time, and a stoppage in play.
And it'll be a foul called on the Wildcats.
And that looks to be, is that on Poquette, I see? No, it's not.
It'll be on Xavier
Smith. So that will send Alaska Anchorage to the line with David Rollins shooting free throws now, as he has had his struggles late in this contest. And that will give Central Washington last shot with no timeouts. Rollins makes that free throw, and the game is tied 79-79.
I think it could very well work out for the Wildcats, though, especially if Rollins doesn't hit the second free throw. He hasn't been the best free throw shooter tonight. He could very well miss, have a tie game, and you have the chance to get the last shot now.
Rollins on the night, as he is 2 for 6 from the line. 80% free throw shooter coming in. This free throw is good. Alaska Anchorage an 80-79 lead with 10 seconds left to go.
I think the problem may be they didn't really get a chance to draw up a play to score a point in that last timeout.
No timeouts for either side. And it'll be Amari Stafford who will inbound for Central. No timeouts, as it's Alaska Anchorage with a 1 point lead with 10 seconds to go. The inbounds play for Smith. Smith across the timeline. Smith working his way through. Smith drives in. 5 seconds left for the lead. He's got it! Xavier Smith gives Central the lead with 3 seconds to go. Carlberg Last ditch heave for the win! No! And Central Washington wins it! Xavier Smith, the game winner, with less than a second left to go. Central wins it 81-80. My goodness, what an ending!
What a play right there by Xavier Smith, being able to drive in coast to coast. Not a lot of help right there. Didn't even really get a screen. Drives it, gets a bit of a fadeaway jumper with 3 seconds left to put them up 1, and then gets back on defense, helps make a bad shot from Carlberg, and just like that, the Wildcats get the win, and a huge one at that.
Unbelievable. Xavier Smith, the one key for Central, proving to be the difference maker. He makes that shot at the end. Central Washington escapes with an incredible overtime victory, 81-80. Wow, what an ending, as it's a crushing defeat for Alaska Anchorage as they played toe-to-toe to the very end. But in the end, it was Central Washington who emerged with an incredible win.
Oh yeah, it was a team effort for Central, and at the end, you saw somebody who was a bit quiet going into that last little stretch, hit not only 1 shot, not 2 shots, but 3 huge shots to give this team the win.
And with that, we are embarking our way in the WSRN post-game show and taking a look at what we've seen. Wow, Xavier Smith, he tied the game with barely any time left, and then he wins the game with less than 3 seconds to go.
I mean, we call him the X Factor for the reason. He came out and he had help, but he won this team the game, let's face it. I mean, what an outstanding performance. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Not to mention a bunch of big shots there at the end. I mean, what a game from Smith.
Unbelievable, as it is Xavier Smith who is the headliner. Also for Alaska Anchorage, a great performance all around. Tobin Carlberg in the losing effort still with a great performance as well.
Yeah, he had a very, very strong first half. Unfortunately, faded a bit at the end. Didn't quite get a chance to win his team the game there towards, end of fourth quarter and overtime. But still had a great night. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 steals from a guard. What a performance. I mean, hats off to him for his performance as well.
Great performance all around. So with that, 21 points on the night for Carlberg. As well for Alaska Anchorage, we knew that there was going to be quite a bit of scoring all around, and boy, we saw that tonight, especially with Alaska Anchorage's death.
Exactly, and unfortunately, their depth is what ended up costing them the game, as Pantovic, when he fouled out there at the end, as we mentioned, he fouled out first, and that it could have ended up costing them the game. Because you think about it, he's not in the game to try and get an easy bucket there towards the end. They miss a couple shots, Central gets a chance to strike right back. But the depth did help. Garrity had a very, very strong performance off the bench, getting 12 points with a bunch of big threes, including one at the end of the first half, which, I mean, almost made a difference when you think about it.
Of all things, yeah. So knowing this for Alaska Anchorage, a very tough way to end this contest. For Alaska Anchorage moving forward, their next contest will be on Monday, as they'll be heading north to take on Simon Fraser up in Burnaby. And so knowing that is huge down the stretch for Alaska Anchorage after a very tough defeat against Central Washington. Meanwhile, for Central, they will be heading on the road along with the women's team. So they will be playing in some double headers down the road, as down the stretch they will be first things first for them. They will be starting their road trip over in Monmouth, as they'll be taking on Western Oregon on the road, as it is Central Washington team that that they beat pretty handily against Western Oregon in the Wolves, and then they follow that up by a rematch against St. Martin's in a huge contest there. So it'll be important down the stretch for Central Washington in some big games. So then afterwards, they will conclude the season being at home against Montana State Billings and SPU. So now we're at the point of the season here, Michael, where we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the regular season.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, we talk about the standings all the time. It's very confusing what may end up mattering in the long run. All that matters is winning a game. And with 5-6 games left for some of these teams, you have a lot of chances here to make a statement win, whether it's beating a good team or beating a team that you're supposed to go out and win. Every game matters, and none more so than this at the moment for both these two teams.
So definitely quite a bit of a time to celebrate for Central Washington fans. But then it will be an embarkment next week against Western Oregon. That contest getting underway at 5:15 over in Monmouth against the Wolves. And then afterwards, it will be also a Saturday game as they'll be taking on St. Martin's. That getting underway at 5:15 on Saturday. So knowing this, what a sequence here. So knowing this, this definitely provides quite a wrench into the playoff standing.